97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5 The Game. Jared Stillman, Caroline Fenton.
Hello, how we doing?
Ian Safar.
What up, what up?
Okay, everybody's here. Loaded show today. We are streaming on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are delivered by TriStar Moving. Boy, people are mad at me.
Yeah, they are. Twitter's been a fun place the past 24 hours.
I mean, Ian, are you surprised by that?
That what, Twitter's mad at you?
Yes.
No.
I'm not.
How? I
Be?
thought, what, should Twitter be mad at me?
I mean,
Should we be
Twitter's pretty much,
surprised?
permanently mad at you.
But, I mean, I feel like they're specifically mad at me today.
Yes, I think it's coming off of a Titans win, and you were pretty angry about the Titans, the way in which the Titans won. And I'm with you, not all 60 minutes were pretty, but I think that's why Titans Twitter is mad with you.
I think they just want, and I'm not here to pick, I think people just want, they want people to say, you win, you're good. You lose, you stink. And that's what they want. And I think sometimes when you lose, maybe you play okay and you lost a game, or maybe the circumstances dictate you lose. I think sometimes when you win, you have to look at the win and say, did you like how you played? But I want to start on this because I am done complaining about the win against the Colts. Now I'm going to have to clarify some comments that some people ran with yesterday that I don't even know how they got to what they got, when in fact I said the opposite of what they say I said, but that's neither here nor there. There is one thing that I think I feel good about right now. And I tried to find this old podcast, and I ended up not being able to find it. But I remember the Tuesday show after the third game last year. The Titans were 3-0. They won on a last-second field goal by Stephen Gostkowski against the Broncos in Week 1 in 2020. They won on a Jeffrey Simmons tip pass into the arms of Harold Landry Week 2 against Jacksonville. And they won on a fourth-quarter comeback drive by Ryan Tannehill in which Stephen Gostkowski hit like a 50-yarder and they beat the Vikings. And they were 3-0. And for a team that had played in the AFC Championship the year before, I didn't feel very good about their 3-0. I didn't feel very good about it. And I was off that Monday because it was the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur. And Chase filled in with me with Floyd. And I knew, hey, when I come back, I'm going to say, hey, that I haven't been totally impressed so far with what I've seen out of the Titans. And I knew people were going to sit there and say, wait a minute, what are you talking about? So I can't remember what hour. I think it was 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock maybe. I can't. But I remember the topic was, I know the Titans are 3-0, but I don't feel great about the 3-0. And predictably, the phone lines just lit up. People saying, Jared, you're crazy. The Titans are 3-0. The Titans are great. The Titans, it's hard to win in the NFL. 3-0 is 3-0. The Titans actually ended up 4-0. And then they played the Pittsburgh Steelers. They lost to them by a field goal. Well, you lose it. Then they lost to the Bengals the next week, and everybody was all bent out of shape. But the reason why I didn't feel good about the 2020 Titans after the first 3 games is because they clearly had one side of the ball that was not holding up their end of the bargain, and that was the defense. The defense was not doing their jobs in 2020. And everybody can sit there and say, well, this was, at the end of the year, we all knew the Titans' defense was bad, but at the beginning of the year, we knew. Drew Lock had a good game against the Titans. He doesn't have a job right now. Gardner Minshew had a good game against the Titans. He doesn't have a job right now. Dalvin Cook had a Hall of Fame game to remember against the Titans in Week 3. And I know it's hard to win in the NFL. But I go back to that, and I didn't feel very good. And a lot of people told me, no, Jared, they're 3-0. It's the NFL. They'll get better on defense. Vrabel will figure it out. They will get a guy who's injured back, a Dory Jackson. They'll be. But I just kind of knew something was wrong with the defense. The Titans have played 3 weeks of football. And I know Michael Bagley missed a couple of kicks in the week 1 game against Arizona, but that didn't really matter much. Since then, Randy Bullock has made the field goals that matter. Titans special teams, which is normally an unmitigated disaster, has been below average, but hasn't killed you so far this year. Titans defense, I think, has been pretty darn good. And I think that's the one thing that maybe doesn't get discussed enough. It's not like last year when they were getting torched by Gardner Minshew and Kirk Cousins and Joe Burrow at Cincinnati. The 3 quarterbacks they've played, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Carson Wentz, are all legitimate starters in the NFL. Now, I'm not a huge Murray guy, and I'm definitely not a huge Wentz guy. But there's a big difference between Carson Wentz or Kyler Murray and Gardner Minshew or Drew Lock. Titans defense looks good, people. Defensive line is getting pressure on these quarterbacks, and it's not just one guy. It's not just, well, the addition of Danico Autry has changed the Titans. It's all of them. Simmons is getting in there. Landry is getting in there. Ola Adeni is getting in there. Autry and Dupree will come along. I'm okay with Dupree because we know he's coming off of a knee injury. I mean, I look at the Titans, and I think this defense is kind of passable. If I had any issues right now, it's the offense. And the Titans' offense went out and scored 30-plus points against Seattle. And they scored points. They had 3 touchdowns against Indianapolis. But they're not the high-powered offense that everybody was telling me about as soon as the Titans traded for Julio Jones. The offense of A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, Derrick Henry, Anthony Ferkser, and Josh Reynolds. Think about that. You know who leads the Titans in catches?
Chester Rogers?
Nope.
I don't know.
Derrick Henry leads the Titans in catches. Time for the offense to pick it up. Ryan Tannehill has turned over the football 5 times in 3 games. Now, we can debate each little one and this and that. Ryan Tannehill's biggest strength is taking care of the football and making good decisions. It's crazy for me to sit here and say after 3 weeks, you know, I kind of like the Titans' defense. I don't love them. I don't love that Indianapolis on 4th and 1 just pushed the line back twice, including one time on 4th and inches where everybody and their grandma knew who was getting the ball. And I felt like the Titans' defensive line got pushed back 4 or 5 yards. And that was an Indy offensive line without their star Quentin Nelson. But I think the Titans' defense actually looks pretty good. That secondary last year that just got torched and played 10 yards off of every wide receiver. I actually think they look pretty good. Christian Fulton looks like a bad boy, which is exactly what they needed. Through 3 games, he looks like what we all wanted a Dory Jackson to be. A guy at corner that could run and be a little physical. He did it to DK Metcalf. Last time I checked, DK Metcalf's considered to be one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. I still don't love the coaching on defense. They almost gave up a touchdown last week where Carson Wentz missed Michael Pittman Jr. in the end zone, and somehow Dane Cruikshank was lined up on the only good wide receiver the Indianapolis Colts have, which we got to figure this out. How are the Titans getting backup safeties? Last week it was Bradley McDougald matched up with Tyler Lockett. This week it was Dane Cruikshank matched up with Michael Pittman Jr. I got to figure out how that happens. Because if you got corners, I would think, and the Titans want to be a man-for-man team, so if you want to be a man-for-man team, wouldn't you have your corners man-for-man on the good wide receivers of the other team? So that they got to get figured out. Kevin Byard has an interception. He was lousy last year. Looks better there. David Long Jr., who last year was a serviceable backup when Jayon Brown got hurt, he looks like a player for this team. I'm not going to say I love the defense, but I'm happy with what we're seeing out of the Titans defense. And that's without Bud Dupree, who's still hurt, and Caleb Farley, who I'm not sure is ever not going to be hurt. But somehow, some way, they're doing it. The concern I have right now is I just feel like sometimes the Titans play a little sloppy. And that's what they've got to get cleaned up. And when I go back to looking at the two teams, last year's team, I knew at this point in the season was fundamentally flawed. I could not get over in December when people were talking about the playoffs. Because anytime you go to the playoffs and you've been to the AFC Championship game the year before, people are going to talk Super Bowl. That's how fans are. In 2017, when Mike Mularkey had a team that was so-so, and they made it to the playoffs at 9-7, they won a miracle game at Kansas City. I remember all week knowing they weren't going to beat that Patriot team. And I remember doing the show, and I'm like, I'm not going to do the Chicago Blackhawks thing where I go on a Tuesday and say, no shot to beat New England. I was like, we'll save this till the very end. In the 5 o'clock hour on Friday, leading up to the Saturday game, I was like, guys, I think New England's going to blow out the Titans. And people were stunned. No way, Jared. This team's going to go into Foxborough, and that team could never compete with the Patriots. Last year, everybody was wanting to talk Super Bowl. Everybody was talking about it because you had just been to the AFC title game. You had one of the best players, if not the best player in the NFL, in Derrick Henry. But after I saw that defense against Cleveland and Green Bay, I knew they had no chance of winning a Super Bowl. I knew they had no chance of going the road of Baltimore, Buffalo, Kansas City, Green Bay, Tampa Bay. They didn't have a chance. I look at this team, and I'm like, cut the dumb stuff out, and you got a decent offense, a decent defense, and even your special teams, you're making your field goals so far. I'm not saying they're Super Bowl contenders. We are so far away from that. And September football will do weird things to your mind. The Raiders are 3-0. We watched the Monday night game with the Raiders and the Ravens, right? Mm-hmm. How close was that to the Ravens winning that game?
I'm trying to think. That was an incredibly close game, wasn't it?
Derek Carr in overtime had a game. The game was won, and Carr threw an interception in the end zone, and then Lamar Jackson fumbled the ball, and each team was handing the game to the other team, and the Raiders ultimately won it. The Raiders, any one play in that game goes the opposite way, and the Ravens win that game. The Ravens then are 3-0, and everybody's talking about them. You know how close the Ravens were to losing to the Lions on Sunday?
66 yards away.
They were literally like 1/10 of a yard away from losing that game. They were one ref's delay of game call away from losing to the Lions. September football will do weird things to your mind. I watched the Raiders this week. They beat the Dolphins. There was a pass interference in the end zone that the announcers were afraid. Even Charles Davis said, I don't know. I think it might have been. In overtime, pass interference in the end zone would have put the ball at the 1 yard line. The Dolphins would have scored and won the game. But they're 3-0, and everybody thinks the Raiders are great. So September football can screw with your mind. So I'm not making any declaration right now about the Titans as a Super Bowl team or not a Super Bowl team. All I'm saying is we were sold high-powered offense. We haven't gotten it. For whatever reason, whether it's the injuries at wide receiver, whether it's Josh Reynolds not being good enough, whether it's not having a tight end, whether it's the practice time, the COVID, all the things that the offense has gone through, we're getting sloppy play there, which is bothering. But you still have a pretty decent offense. You still have the best player. I think that if you were to say who's the best player in the league, I think there's three guys: Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Donald, and Derrick Henry. And I think you can make an argument for either three. So maybe the best player in the sport at running back, and he's carrying you, and that's okay. Your special teams, your kickers, haven't cost you a game yet. And your defense actually looks pretty good. There's not a fundamental issue there with this team. Last year, we knew through 3 games, even if we didn't want to admit it, we knew there was a fundamental flaw with this team. The 2021 Titans, as of right now, don't have it. And that is very encouraging. So while I spent all day complaining about things that bothered me in the Indianapolis game yesterday, let me just say this. I feel a lot better through 3 games about this team than I did about last year's team. And I certainly feel a lot better through 3 games than I did about 2019's team when they beat Cleveland, lost to Indianapolis, and got embarrassed on a Thursday night by Jacksonville. So that's the positive, is that I can't look at one side of the ball. I can't look at a position group right now and say, you're letting me down. Randy Bullock has made his kicks. The offensive line hasn't been perfect, but they held up against Seattle, and they held up against Indianapolis. This is a team that, again, if they can cut out the dumb stuff, and I'm only going to get harder on them from here on out. You throw a stupid interception, you're going to hear about it from me, because those are the things that are keeping them away from where we all want them to be. But again, through 3 games, I like what I see overall of all 3 phases and whether or not you can fix the mistakes that you currently have. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want us to get started, 615-737-1025. I think that they are much improved from last year, at least through the first 3 games. Now, again, injuries can happen to anybody in the NFL. And your wide receiving core, we'll keep an eye on. But right now, if the Titans just cut out the dumb stuff, if they just cut out the fumbling the ball inside their own 10, or throwing the ball right to the other team's linebackers, or fumbling the football at the other team's 6-yard line, this team's got a shot to be pretty good. Stillman and Company, 615-737-1025 here on ESPN 1025 The Game. We'll get Caroline's thoughts on this. We'll get your thoughts. Plus, I am convinced the Titans are better than they were last year. And I am convinced that the Titans have issues, but fixable issues. But I'm surprised by a trend nationally that I'm seeing with the Titans. We'll get to that coming up next. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 1025 The Game. We're streaming on the Game Nashville app.
October 14th.
Toward the net, the back end of the score. Predators break out in front.
The Nashville Predators regular season begins when they host the Seattle Kraken.
And the Predators win it overtime.
And your only home for every moment of the action is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, it's Jared, and there's a new go-to for home furnishing. Social Furniture on the west side is independently home-owned furniture store in Nashville. Forget the big box store. Shop local, shop social.
It's football season, and Social Furniture has the best lifetime guarantee motion furniture on sale now. Their sofas with recliners are push-button electric and wall-away with all colors to choose from for your comfort. Sectionals from $9.99, recliners from $3.99. Sectionals with chase lounge and all-electric recliners from $19.99. Social Furniture will have you football ready with all furniture that are plus leather, microfiber, and there's no waiting, and take home your new motion furniture today or with their same-day fine furniture delivery. Social Furniture has no down payments and no interest. You don't want to miss out on their best lifetime guarantee motion furniture sale going on now.
Shop local, shop social. 5412 Charlotte Avenue near White Bridge Road, and tell them Jared Stillman sent you.
Football is back, and Electronic Express has what you need to make the game bigger than ever. Bring the stadium to you with the best in-home entertainment from Samsung, LG, Sony, Hisense, TCL, and more. Watching the game on the go? Save big on laptops, tablets, and headphones. Plus, we have all your appliance needs up to 50% off, and get up to 36 months free financing. We've got you covered this football season at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 429, has a path to a dignified career. Are you a skilled electrician or lineman? Tired of dead-end, low-paying jobs? Local 429 is accepting applications for highly skilled electricians and linemen and is providing the best training in Middle Tennessee. They are the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 429. Call them at 615-889-4429 or go online to ibew429.org. IBEW Local 429, the best training and training the best.
Hey, it's Jared Stillman. Guys, are you tired of feeling old? You know that feeling. You don't have any energy. You're gaining pounds. Well, guess what? My friends at Invigorate Health are the ones to help you. They don't just focus on one area of the aging body. They take care of all of it with so many different therapies that can restore your vitality and are designed with you specifically in mind. So give them a try. Invigorate Health, if you want to feel young again. Out in Mount Juliet at 615-288-4777 or InvigorateHealthTN.com.
More machines, more savings, and more muscle. Only with John Deere construction equipment from Meade Tractor. Hit the heavy jobs harder with our Own It offer and get special financing on select models. New, used, or rent, we have the right equipment and technology solution for you with the affordable financing you need. Contact us today at our Nashville location or go online at meadtractor.com.
Offer valid on qualified purchases and new equipment made between now through October 31st, 2021. Subject to approved installment credit with John Deere Financial for commercial use. Only down payment may be required. Some restrictions apply. See store for details.
Interact with Stillman and Company. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
With the pass rush, I mean, maybe from Ola and then maybe Harold, who only maybe had a half sack, but it seemed like he impacted the game with a lot of pressure. Did that stand out to you?
Yeah, it did. I thought Harold played extremely hard. I thought Ola continues to help us, and Harold's impact in the game. He's playing hard and he's trying to get around the quarterback, and I know that the ball will start to come out. He's going to start, continuing to keep reaching, trying to find the football when he gets around the quarterback, and hope that it comes out and the numbers start to reflect, maybe what his effort and his, not his production certainly, but his performance.
There you go. That was Mike Vrabel, and I think Ola Adeniyi has been a great addition to the Titans pass rush. I think Harold Landry's been playing his butt off. I'll say this about free agency. Whenever it happens every year in free agency, everybody gets all worked up one way or another about, like, the big names. Like, oh, Jared, what about Carl Lawson? What about Trey Hendrickson? What about Yannick Ngakoue? What about – and the Titans signed a big name in Bud Dupree. The Ola Adeniyis, the Kyle Vanden Bosches, that's where you win in free agency. Lorenzo Neal is where you win in free agency. That is where you win. By the way, I thought Paul Kaharski asked a great question yesterday of Mike Vrabel when it came to Ola Adeniyi, where Ola played on the Pittsburgh Steelers, kind of a special teams guy, didn't get the opportunity, goes to the Titans where he gets an opportunity, and he's a much better player than I think we were led to believe. Mike Vrabel played on the Pittsburgh Steelers, was kind of a special teams guy. Vrabel's told the story before that when the Patriots offered him as a free agent, Bill Cowher said, I can give you the money, but I can't give you the opportunity that they're going to give you in New England. And obviously we know how that played out for Vrabel's career. Now, Vrabel dodged the question because I don't think he wanted to make it about him. But I do think it is an interesting comparison. But that's how you win in free agency. So I actually think the Titans, I think they have their issues. And I think right now it starts with taking care of the football. I don't care about them not forcing turnovers. I care about the fact that they're turning it over. And they turned over a touchdown to Arizona. They turned over a touchdown to Seattle. And they turned over, I believe, a touchdown to Indianapolis. And you can't win in the NFL with that. But it's tightening up that stuff. I hate that. It sounds like a pun.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to do it that way.
Sharpening it?
So they didn't say tighten up for 15 years, and then all of a sudden they started saying tighten up, and I hate it. But that's neither here nor there. So, but once they get those things fixed, then I think that they should be okay. But ESPN's power rankings do not feel that way, Caroline Fenton.
No, they do not.
So there's a bunch of 2-1 teams. For example, the Buffalo Bills are 2-1, and the 2-1 Buffalo Bills are the third-ranked team on ESPN.com's power rankings. The Green Bay Packers are 2-1. They're the fourth-ranked team. Cleveland, Baltimore, the Chargers, the 49ers, the Cowboys, the Saints are all 2-1. And guess what? They're all ranked ahead of the Titans. The ESPN Power Rankings have the Titans ranked at 16. In fact, only one other 2-1 team, the Cincinnati Bengals, are ranked ahead of the Titans. And so, the power rankings have always been kind of anti-Titans, and I don't get too worked up one way or another because I think that the local people around here get too worked up when they think the team is good, and I think the national people, kind of throw them a little bit further down when they're not that big of a deal. So I looked at Pro Football Talk today. They have the Titans as the second worst, second to last. The second to last 2-1 team. The Bengals are also behind them. They have a 1-2 team, the Chiefs ahead of them. Every other 2-1 team, every 3-0 team, including Denver, who has not beaten a team this year that has a win, including Carolina, who beat up on, the Jets and the Texans. They got Carolina in there. What do we think of the national media looking at these power rankings saying the Titans, I think the Titans are much better than they were a year ago when they were 3-0. I think the defense is much improved. I don't think there's some fundamental flaw here. And yet the national media not taking the cheese on the Titans at all.
Well, I don't think the national media is necessarily looking at it in a comparison to last year. I think that's a great benchmark for people in Nashville, for Titans fans. If you're looking at the Titans independently of any other team in the league, using 2020 and 2019 as a benchmark is totally fair.
But isn't that what everybody does right now? Like the Buffalo Bills are third. They're 2-1. And it's because of what they did last year.
Yes, and I do think that there's a little bit of potential in this list. Like, okay, this is what we have on paper, but the potential of this team. For example, the Colts being 0-3 and above 2 1-2 teams, one being the Texans and then one being the Bears, I believe. It's because, in my opinion, the NFL Nation writers who put this list together see the Colts as a better team down the road than the Bears, than the Texans.
The national media has always got an Indianapolis Colt in their pants. I mean, this has been, and I think it goes back to Peyton.
I like that.
That's just how they are.
Okay.
Like, that's just, they love the Colts.
They do love the Colts.
They love the Colts. The Colts suck. Like, the team that you played Sunday, they suck. And I know that, Wentz was hurt, and T.Y. Hilton's out, and Quentin Nelson got hurt, but to me, there was one elite player who played in a football game Sunday. His name was Derrick Henry. These people that tell me that Darius Leonard's an elite football player, I think Darius Leonard's a good tackler. I think he's like C.J. Mosley. C.J. Mosley's a good football player. C.J. Mosley is not an elite football player. There was one guy on the field who was elite, Derrick. And but they just love the Colts. And they'll never blame the coach, and they'll never blame the general manager. And I don't understand where Carson Wentz gets a pass and Jared Goff doesn't. But we talked about that last week. I just think that, ultimately when it comes down to the Titans, I think that the national media doesn't buy Tannehill. That's what I think it always comes down to. I think it is a long, drawn-out process. It's like that movie, He's Just Not That Into You. They just don't believe in Ryan Tannehill. And every other team that's 2-1, they somehow, some way can convince themselves that that team is better because they either love the coach, Sean Payton, or because they love the quarterback more than they like Tannehill. Think about everybody who's 2-1. They love Josh Allen. They love Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is 2-1. And if it wasn't for a missed delay of game and a 66-yard field goal, they're 1-2. And everybody thinks the Ravens are a top 10 team. How's that happen?
Well, tell me this. If you are going to put money today on the Bills-Titans game, who are you putting money on?
I mean, I actually think the Titans can win these games.
I think the Titans can win these games, but me personally,
like I'll tell you what, I think the Rams are going to beat the Titans.
The Rams have eclipsed my expectations for them this year.
But the Rams are number 1 in everybody's power rankings right now, right?
Yes, and I know September football is weird. Things can change.
What happened in week 2 for the Rams?
With the Rams? Who did
Barely
they play
beat the
in week
Colts.
2?
Barely beat the Colts. And if Carson Wentz doesn't get hurt and Jacob Eason goes into that game, a guy the Colts have no faith in. I mean, they might as well get rid of Eason because they've ruined his career this week by, bringing in Hundley and having him take all the reps, and we don't know. And okay.
Putting a broken Carson Wentz in.
Eason is never going to believe that you have any faith in him. So you might as well just get rid of him. But the Rams barely eked out a victory over Indianapolis in week 2. This is where, again, September football is weird. And so people are going to run with it one way or another. I like the Rams. I just don't think the Titans are going to travel out to Los Angeles and beat them.
No. But to my point, the Bills and the Titans are both 2-1 teams. Me personally, right now, as it stands, and this may change before the Titans play the Bills, but I'm going to put my money on the Bills right now.
Titans, Saints.
Ooh, that is a tough one.
Titans, 49ers.
49ers.
Why?
I mean, because the Titans, so far from what we've seen in these 3 games, the mistakes that they make. And now, granted, I have not watched 49ers football as in depth as I have watched Titans football. Or
49ers don't have
football.
a running back.
Okay.
Those are important.
Yes, those are important.
Their best running back is their backup quarterback.
Okay.
So they're going to come in here to Nissan Stadium. You've got the best running back in the game, and they don't have a running back.
And there are also holes that the Titans have. I mean, A.J. Brown, we don't know what his status may be. Julio Jones can't stay in for a full game.
Sure.
I mean, I think that there are so many positive points in this Titans team, 100%, but I think that we've also seen that they have the capacity to make mistakes. But to your point, this list, I think, is very much so based in speculation of what they expect these teams to do in the future. But I mean, with the Bills being ranked above the Titans, yes, they are both 2-1 teams. But I think that, when it comes down to it, if you're facing off between Buffalo and Tennessee, I would have to lean toward Buffalo from what we know right now.
Titans, Ravens.
I think the Titans could beat the Ravens.
Okay. Titans, Chargers. Titans, Cowboys.
I lean Chargers. Titans, Cowboys. I lean Titans.
I'd say that Eagles team yesterday, they suck.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was going to be way closer than it was.
I thought that it was going to be a much bigger blowout. Like early in the game, I thought this was going to be, and then I saw Dak Prescott fumble the ball in the end zone, and I'm like, that's the Cowboys. 615-737-1025. Let's get to your phones. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Michael is going to kick us off today on the Titans. Thank you for calling. Thank you for waiting. Go ahead, Michael.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking the call. I know the next 2 games we have coming up are Jets and Jaguars. So I think that with the injuries that we're having with, whatever Julio may or may not be dealing with, whatever AJ's dealing with, Bud Dupree, I think you could not ask for a better 2-game stretch for those guys to possibly rehab just a little bit more, maybe not come just take the week off or whatever, but to make sure that they're actually 100%, because right after that we got Bills and Chiefs, I'm pretty sure. So I'd rather them possibly be out for Jets and Jaguars than them to possibly be out of against the Bills and the Chiefs.
Yep. Thank you for your call, Michael. Here's my thing, and I've heard a lot of sentiment yesterday on the show, and I heard a lot of sentiment on Robbie and Rex Road this morning about, with all these guys hurt, you don't need to play anybody against the Jets or the Jags. I think you'll be fine. And I'm just going to tell you, that's not how football people operate. That is especially the Belichick football people. They do not operate like that. The idea of, it's the Jets. Tom Brady, when there is nothing to play for, in a week 17, 4 or 5 years ago, played a full game against the Jets week 17. Nothing to play for. Playoffs already clinched, everything ready to go. Brady plays. They do not operate like this. Now, look, I think AJ's probably out for these 2 games because he's hurt his hamstring. And Bud Dupree was out against the Colts. And if you're going to be out against the Colts, you're probably going to be out in these other games, unless you can get back there. But I think a lot of Titan fans are like, everybody don't get hurt here and be ready for the Bills and be ready for the Chiefs. And let me tell you something. Remember in practice when all these guys didn't play because, hey, let's make sure everybody's okay. And then they got out there against Arizona and they hadn't practiced. Remember what that looked like?
It wasn't great.
You got to play. This is the one sport. In basketball, for example, we can just roll the balls out there. And in 5-on-5 and pass and cut and shoot. And, the coaches can put the whistles in their mouths and be the refs and you can scrimmage. And while it's not going to be the same as a real game, it's pretty close. Baseball, I can take a pitcher, put him on the mound, and you go up there to bat against him, and it's not going to be the same as a real game. But I can tell you, runner second and third, 1 out, you got to get that run in from third. And you can practice that. You can't practice football other than actually playing football. So this idea of, hey, everybody rest, Jets and Jags. How many teams have finished 0-16 over the last 20 years?
I mean, the Browns are the only team that I can think of.
2. The Detroit Lions and the Browns that you're referring to.
Was that Orlovsky's Lions?
I think he was a part of that mess. That's my way of saying the percentages are going to tell us that the Jets and the Jags aren't going to lose every game this year. And so if the Titans go in with the mentality that the caller was talking about just being cocky and say, Jets and Jags, we watched them lose to the Bengals last year. So I would just pump the brakes. We saw the Titans lose to an 0-10 Colts team. I'd pump the brakes on acting like the Jets and the Jags. Clearly these teams get up enough to beat somebody. The Jets beat the Rams last year. The reason why Trevor Lawrence is not the Jets quarterback is because they beat the Rams. So I don't think Vrabel's getting too cocky. I think the fans are going to get like that, and the Titans should win these 2 games.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling you what I know of Vrabel. When I worked in women's basketball, we played in the NCAA tournament my freshman year. We went to the Final Four. We played Liberty in the first game, and we were the 3 seed, so they were like a 14. The second game was LSU on the road at LSU, and LSU had been to 5 straight women's Final Fours. So we smoke Liberty. We spend all week preparing for Liberty. Smoke them. The next day at LSU, the coach who's got the scouting report on LSU goes, all those drills we did on screens saying that this is what Liberty ran, this is what LSU runs, and we only did these drills. We weren't going to tell you that this was for LSU, but they were preparing the players for LSU the whole week.
Mm-hmm.
But they couldn't tell the players we're preparing for LSU.
Because mentally you're going to look past
You
it.
can't overlook Liberty. And so I need Titan fans to understand that you cannot lose to the Jets and the Jags. And that if you think that, screw them, my team will win those games. Calm down now. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. 615-737-1025. We'll get to your reaction. Plus, I got to tell you, there are some people, the things that are said about the Colts that just get me they get me so hot and bothered. We'll get to that next as well. Let's talk about the FanDuel Sportsbook app. That's right. It's my official sportsbook app. After 20 years on the same sidelines, it's Brady versus Belichick Sunday night. It's the GOAT versus the GOAT, and you can be a part of this epic showdown with unbelievable odds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Right now, new customers can win $125 on a $5 bet if either team scores a touchdown. That's right. 25-1 odds on any touchdown, anytime during the Tampa Bay New England game. Feel like Tampa's probably going to score a touchdown. Sign up with the FanDuel Sportsbook app today using the promo code JGM and make your first bet for the history books, Brady versus Belichick. Don't forget to use the promo code JGM so they know that I sent you. Again, that's the FanDuel Sportsbook app. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. New users only. $10 first deposit required. You must wager in a designated offer market. Max bonus $125. Bonus for Tennessee users fulfilled in site credit within 72 hours. Tennessee site credit expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
Titans. Jets. It's time to take care of business in the Big Apple. Tune in Sunday at 9:30 for NFL pregame with Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard. Live from Corner Pub in Brentwood. We are Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN. 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Great first dates start with a confident smile and guacamole. And with the largest network of dentists in the nation, Delta Dental of Tennessee can give you a smile that leaves a memorable first impression. Learn more at deltadentaltn.com.
Life isn't always nice and tidy. With the largest network of dentists in the nation and affordable plans, Delta Dental of Tennessee can help make sure your smile is the cleanest thing you own. Learn more at deltadentaltn.com.
Hey, it's Jared for TriStar Moving. If you're looking to move, you need to give my friends at TriStar Moving a call. At TriStar Moving, you'll get 5-star service throughout the entire process. Everything will be taken care of, from covering your floors, banisters, railings, front door thresholds, furniture, TVs, and more. They took great care of my move and made it as stress-free as possible. If you're looking to move, give TriStar Moving a call, 615-640-1219, or visit them at nashvillemoving.org/radio and get 5% off your entire move. TriStar Moving, my official movers.
312 Pizza Company is family owned and operated, bringing you a slice of Chicago to Nashville. 312 Pizza Company specializes in deep dish pizza, thin crust pizza, and all things Chicago style. And always made from scratch using secret family recipes passed down generation to generation. 312 Pizza is open 7 days a week and located in Germantown with dine-in, takeout, and curbside available. Call 615-730-7888 to order 312 Pizza Company, Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria.
The Titans head up to the Big Apple this weekend to take on the New York Jets Sunday at noon. Join us for a fun pregame show and watch party at the Corner Pub's Brentwood location at Old Hickory Boulevard. 102.5's NFL pregame show will be there live starting at 9:30 a.m. And the show features Jared Stillman, former Titans receiver Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard. 102.5's NFL pregame show is brought to you in part by Freedom Tire, Harmon Tractor and Equipment, FanDuel, and Hillside Medical.
Saturday night, the MTSU Blue Raiders continue their Conference USA slate when they welcome Marshall to Murfreesboro.
Caught, touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
Coverage begins at 5
on ESPN
94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Penny Hardaway, University of Memphis coach. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
About the offense in general and maybe Ryan specifically, that you were still able to get the job done given the injuries, some of the personnel that was in and out?
Well, I think it's just a great reminder for everybody that's going to practice throughout the week that if they know what to do and they're willing to go play fast and aggressive, they have an opportunity to affect the game, hopefully positively, and get some opportunities to do whatever, whether that's at the offensive line level, whether that's Ola at the outside linebacker level, the receivers that went in there, Torrey Carter, who was playing special teams, playing his first game, whoever that may be, just being ready for your opportunity and making sure that you take advantage of it, and some of those guys will earn more opportunity.
There you go, Mike Vrabel. I just told you this yesterday. I didn't get too excited about the way the backups played on Sunday. That is not – I know it's fun to say, like, wow, look at the way that Chester Rogers and Nick Westbrook-Akina played in that game on Sunday. That tells you how good we are, Jared.
It is encouraging to see some of your lower bottom roster guys go out there and get it done. That is encouraging. But there's also a layer of nervousness it gives me of like, okay, why did Chester Rogers and Nick Westbrook-Akina have to win this game for the Titans?
You think Nick Westbrook-Akina gets it done against the Chiefs?
No, and that's what I'm saying is like it was great that Chester Rogers and Nick Westbrook-Akina had a day and they were able to win this game for the Titans. But I personally, where we stand right now, I don't think that they can do that week in and week out.
So I was telling somebody today, everybody is going to say, oh, man, how about Westbrook-Akina? How about David Long Jr.? How about Chester Rogers? How about Jeff Swaim? And I'm saying, how about Christian Fulton and David Quesenberry? Because those are guys that are going to play when you play the Bills, that are going to play when you play the Rams. And when you play the Rams, you're going to need Christian Fulton to play pretty well. By the way, the text line, our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Apparently the text line called Caroline Fenton a hater.
Yeah, okay, so in the text line, one texter called me a hater, and another texter said that you are too optimistic about the Titans. And I just want to know where the tables have turned here, where I am a hater and you're too optimistic. I don't think that I'm a hater.
You said you picked the 49ers over the Titans.
Yes.
Ian, would you pick the 49ers over the Titans?
I don't think I would, no.
I thought that 49er team on Sunday night, because I was trying to throw something back at you about. I thought they looked very boring.
They have.
I thought they looked very average. They
have some good players. I mean, Kittle, Debo. I do think they would pose a threat. But you're right. I mean, they're running on Trey Sermon as their running back, and the defense has been fine, but not as good as probably we had anticipated. I would probably lean the Titans slightly.
My girlfriend and I were having a kind of serious conversation as we're watching the game. And Aaron Rodgers or Jimmy G drops back to throw. And so we're talking about, it's my birthday. And who cares about this Sunday night game? And Jimmy G just chucks one down the field. And it looked like he hit the Green Bay defensive back in stride. And all of a sudden, that was a pretty good pass. And she just starts laughing because it was so bad. And I think Garoppolo, I think everybody knows clock's ticking on Jimmy G. The clock is.
Well, they already drafted his replacement.
Oh, they drafted his replacement. If there's anything I've learned about pressure, everybody wants to see the replacement play.
Oh,
everybody wants to see Justin Fields play. Then Justin Fields gets in, doesn't play well enough, and now everybody wants to fire the coach. Now, I don't know enough about Chicago to tell you whether or not they should fire the coach. I find him to be incredibly boring, and I find their team to be boring. But, I don't – the people that are like, you've got this great Justin Fields who in this, and I'm like, he was the fourth quarterback taking the draft. People said the same thing about Mariota for years. Like, these guys, they're not always ready, even though you think because you watched a half of a preseason game that they're all ready does not mean they're ready. So, anywho, that's kind of a tangent right there. What else we got in the text line?
The texter says that I am a hater because I said that the Titans will probably lose to the Bills, Chiefs, Rams, and 49ers. Now, okay, 49ers, that's fair. I think that we could go either way on this. The Rams? Like, am I crazy for thinking that the Titans are going to lose to the Rams? Does that make me a hater?
Considering that the Rams
just beat the Buccaneers.
Most people believe the Rams are the best team in the NFL, so because of that, I'd have a hard time in saying that you're a hater for saying that a Titan team. My high school basketball
If I say
coach,
that the Titans have no chance going into New York and beating the Jets because the Titans are just awful, that's being a hater.
My high school basketball coach, great coach, guy named William Bellaford, he used to say, my freshman year, we were playing some bum team. And I remember it was, I think it was like a 6-point game at halftime. And I just remember him saying at halftime in the locker room, as he's yelling at us because we're not playing well enough, a team that's not even supposed to be in the game with you is in the game with you. And I don't know why that stuck in my head, but for years I talk about it. A team that's not even supposed to be in the game with you is in the game with you. My junior or senior year, we do the same thing. And at halftime, he didn't say it the rest of that year, didn't say it the next year, didn't say it for that part. All of a sudden, I just hear, and a team that's not even supposed to be in the game with you is in the game with you. And that's how I felt at halftime of the Indianapolis game. Because I felt like the Titans were in total control, and Ryan Tannehill threw that sucker right over the middle that was intercepted. And all of a sudden, at the half, it's 14-13, and it's like, oh. And I texted him, my coach, and I said, I can just hear you in my head saying a team that's not even supposed to be in the game with you is in the game with you. And he texted me back and said, it's funny because I just thought the same thing.
It's true.
That's how I felt.
I mean,
so here we are talking about the Rams. And it's like, Caroline's a hater because she says that she would pick the Rams in Los Angeles. She would pick the Rams over the Titans. And it's like the Titans just played a game with a team that was not even supposed to be in the game with them. And we had to, watch until the end when the field goal kicker missed a kick. And then say, whew. So, yes, you're allowed to say that you think the Rams will be able to beat the Titans. Yes.
I think that's fair. Thank you very much.
You know what else you're allowed to do?
What am I allowed to do?
You're allowed to tell us about BetUS.
Oh,
Coming up next, 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Coming up next, I can tell, somebody agrees with my opinion, but I can tell that they didn't watch an ounce of the game on Sunday. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 1025 The Game. And tell us about BetUS, Caroline.
I want to tell you about BetUS because it's my favorite sports book, and football is finally back. So get in on the action with BetUS. They're America's favorite sports book, and they have been so for over 25 years. And that's exactly why I endorse them, because with BetUS, you're getting integrity, you're getting longevity, and when you win, you know that you're going to get paid. And really, at the end of the day, that's all you need from a sports book. BetUS offers everything. They have live betting, MMA, golf, horses, esports, all kinds of crazy bets, and of course, baseball's heating up, football's getting into it, so of course you can bet on that on BetUS as well. So call them today. They'll walk you through setting up an account. It is super easy. All you got to do is call 1-800-79-BET-US, 1-800-79-BET-US, and you can get up to 200% in bonuses on your first deposit. Nobody beats that. So call BetUS today, 1-800-79-BET-US, mention game, and you can get a sign-up bonus on your first deposit. I bet at BetUS, so should you. So go now to BetUS.com. Join today. Put in promo code GAME, G-A-M-E, for a sign-up bonus on your first deposit. That is BetUS.com.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. More sunshine in store for us today. Temperatures will work their way from the 70s to the middle 80s when it's all said and done this afternoon. Storms back the second half of this week.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Your home value is way up this year, and with mortgage rates back to all-time lows, it's a great time to call Loan Pronto. Refinance now and get cash out of your home's equity. Hey, it's Willie Donick. Loan Pronto can refinance your loan at a super low rate. They can pay the closing costs for you and get you a bunch of cash out. How does $40,000 or $50,000 sound? Don't just sit on that home's new value. Use it. Use it to pay off credit cards. Use it to consolidate other debt. Get rid of PMI. Use IT be to make your home even more valuable with that home improvement project you've been dreaming about. Loan Pronto's all-digital platform makes it fast and easy. And if you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call Loan Pronto now, 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Ask about the Loan Pronto zero-cost cash-out refi. LoanPronto.com, 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. Zero cost option not available on all loans.
The C10 Nationals are here. Friday, October 1st and Saturday, October 2nd at Nashville Superspeedway. The C10 Nationals, one of the largest GM truck shows in the world. Don't miss the autocross, the burnout contest, the dyno, along with vendor midway swap meet, cruise the track, and more. Cap it all off with a huge award ceremony. Spectator tickets are just $20 per day. Trucks can register at the gate day of the event. Visit C10Nationals.com. That's C10Nationals.com for more information.
Robbie Stanley
coming in off the water, coming in there to tailgate.
Joe Rexroad.
That was fun.
Get your morning started with Robbie and Rexroad every weekday from 6 to 10. Presented by Volunteer State Bank on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is on. Delivered by TriStar Moving.
Tune into the NFL Game of the Week on ESPN 94.9, brought to you by Red Spirits and Wine in Bellevue. The NFL Game of the Week, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Green Bay Packers. Sunday kickoff set for 3:25. Do we know what TV network has that game? Fox or CBS?
Which game?
Packers and Steelers.
I don't know.
I'm going to tell you, whoever got it is a lot more sad today than they were when the NFL gave them the broadcast schedule, because they were probably like, oh, yeah, Steelers, Packers, Big Ben versus Aaron Rodgers. This is a...
Yeah, Big Ben is best days are behind him, it's looking like.
So I want to get to this Colin Cowherd point. And I'm not, like, Colin Cowherd says a lot of stuff. And Colin Cowherd has been, as we've well documented, consistently down on the Titans. Fair?
Yes.
I mean, just consistently.
And consistently up on Indianapolis.
Yes.
Loves Indianapolis.
So I've long believed that those people don't actually watch the Titans. And if I was a national radio host, I don't know what I would watch and what I wouldn't watch. I promise you, I wouldn't watch every game. So I've always said that these national people don't watch the Titans, but for some reason it still doesn't, sink in. How did you think about how Carson Wentz, given the circumstances, how did you feel about Carson Wentz's performance on Sunday, just Sunday, on how he played?
I mean, given the circumstances, I don't think that you can really criticize Carson Wentz too heavily. I mean, I don't think he made any big-time mistakes that changed the course of the game. He did his job. He really threw the ball a lot more than I expected him to. I really expected the Colts, every single play drawn up, to be pass it up to Jonathan Taylor. Pass it up to Jonathan Taylor. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, Carson Wentz contributed a lot more than I thought he would. I have to give him credit.
I thought Carson Wentz played okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think Carson Wentz, I thought he did exactly, what he was there to do. I think he played within what the boundaries that were set for him. And he missed a touchdown pass to Pittman, but other than that, I thought Carson Wentz played fine. And you all know me. I think Carson Wentz stinks. I think he stinks. So Colin Cowherd's got this where Colin was right, where Colin was wrong segment. Mm-hmm. And listen to his take on Carson Wentz from the game Sunday. And this proves to me that the national media does not watch the Titans. Take a listen.
Where Colin was wrong.
I'm a big Carson Wentz guy, at least I was, but his completion percentage, folks, he's 58%. And it's not like there's not weapons. He made some really poor throws yesterday. He's always been a little too reckless, but so is Darnold. But it's not like he's throwing a lot of picks. But he's just missing too many open throws. I was not a fan of what I thought was a dumb COVID stance. Get the shot, get the vaccine. You're a quarterback. You can't go in every week crossing your fingers on COVID protocol. Get it done. Be a grown-up. He's been a big disappointment, a major disappointment. Now, some of the Colts O-line is banged up, but Carson Wentz to this point is not worth the money.
Okay. I don't disagree with what he said about Carson Wentz's COVID situation, or that Carson Wentz isn't worth the money.
The second half of that, I don't disagree with.
But none of what he said about Sunday's game I thought was fair or accurate. I mean, to me, that was a guy who, if you would watch that game, and granted, for his national television audience, like maybe 8%. That may be a little generous.
Yeah.
Like maybe 3% watched this game. But he didn't watch the game. At least I didn't think, the completion percentage, yeah, because half the time he just threw the ball in the ground. I didn't think he made some poor throws. And again, I'm a Wentz hater. I don't think Wentz is very good. But I think this proves to all of us what we already knew, that the national media does not watch the Titans. And this week against the Jets, the national media is not going to watch the Titans. And next week, the national media is not going to watch the Titans against Jacksonville. So you're going to get your handful of games, your Buffalo, your Rams, your Thursday nighter against the 49ers later in the year, and that's all they're going to watch. So I don't really care what so-and-so at ESPN writes about the Titans because they don't watch. Cowherd does not watch the Titans. He does not. I mean, it was like when they went in the playoffs a couple of years ago and they started winning games, everybody was like, this team's like, Vrabel's pretty good coach and Derrick Henry's pretty good running back. I mean, I think that they're, I think they're pretty good. Then Tannehill doesn't even throw for 200 yards on a Tuesday night against Buffalo, and they embarrass the Bills, and everybody's like, Tannehill might be in the MVP discussion. What do we think? I mean, I just, they just don't watch. And then as soon as the Titans lost to the Bengals, nobody talked about the Titans again for the rest of the year. They just don't watch.
Does it matter if the national media doesn't watch or care about the Titans or give them, the credit that they may deserve?
I think this goes back to like how Vrabel doesn't tell us anything about anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, does it matter that Vrabel after the game made the Julio Jones situation a lot bigger, like made it a lot bigger deal than it needed to be by not just telling us the truth then and leading to all the speculation that followed? And it's like TD has said several times, and I agree with him, this notion that Mike Vrabel hides information and that it ultimately doesn't do the player any benefit, I think is a fair point.
Mm-hmm.
With Julio Jones, everybody wants to know if it's an attitude issue. And then when you half-ass the answer after the game because your son is pitching and you don't want to talk about it, now it swells up all of this. So I think it's an issue. But he's going to say, well, I don't care what you guys think. I don't care what you guys say.
Yeah.
I don't care what. So I think this is an example of that. Like you're saying, doesn't matter? I guess not. If they win all the games and they're the Super Bowl champions, then people have to kiss your feet no matter what.
And is it frustrating as a Titans fan to watch SportsCenter or Get Up or First Take, whatever it may be?
It was as a kid.
That can be frustrating 100%, but I think when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter. Because if the Titans keep winning these games, they will be talked about.
Thank you, Floyd.
What?
I mean, I think it matters to the fans. And I just use it for this. Like somebody today who works in local radio told me, that they don't really like local radio. And I said, the one thing I'll tell you about local radio is you have a much larger impact on what you are talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know that the people at the Titans and the Predators listen to this radio show. I know it. And they know that I know and whatever. So when you get take a coach being fired. Stephen A. Smith, nobody cares what he thinks. He can say it on TV and has a larger audience. But, it's not going to lead, Jacksonville Jaguar fans to not go to games to get Urban Meyer out of there. That's your local media. You have a much larger impact on the teams you cover. And so, who I was talking to, I think kind of had this sense of national media is where all the glory is and all the money is and all that. And that's true.
Which is great.
But there is something that a lot of people that have made it to that level that they miss about local radio. And that is that when you're not on local radio, that you don't have, the day-to-day, basically you've got the fans. Like I listen, I listen to pretty much everything. And you've got the fans. Like we've got the fans. That's like if I say it, the amount of things that I say that people listen to, where I have people talking to me at Bridgestone Arena and they'll tell me, well, I heard such and such. And I can think in my head, yeah, I said that. But I mean, I'm not going to say that back to that person. But So there's something there about it. But there is, like, you want to be talked about. Like, I just want people to watch the games. And if not, then just don't pretend like you watched the game. Like, I'm not – I don't know. I can't – like I said last week, I did not watch that Tennessee Tech game. And I am not sad that I didn't. But I'm not going to try to pretend like I watched that game. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Speaking of the Vols, we have not talked about their loss at Florida. I got to tell you, there are some good signs with their loss at Florida. There are some bad signs with their loss at Florida. I want to get to that coming up next. Invigorate Health. That's right. My guys at Invigorate Health, they are so close, just over in Mount Juliet. InvigorateHealthTN.com. They will take care of you. I think sometimes you're in like these ruts with your health where you feel like you're putting on pounds. You feel like you're too old. You feel too sluggish. You feel like all of those things. Invigorate Health is here to restore your vitality, however you need it done. Call my friends at Invigorate Health or go online, InvigorateHealthTN.com. Call my friends. Set up a consultation. They'll draw your blood. They'll take a look at whatever issues you have. They're trained physicians and nurses. Run it by them. And they will tell you the therapies that will restore your vitality and are designed with you in mind. So it may be IV therapy. Maybe you're not hydrated enough. Maybe you need one of their IV packages, like the full body detox or the immune boost or the athletic recovery. And they can bring that to you, by the way. Maybe you need, hormones like testosterone. You lose testosterone every year of your life as a man after you turn 30. Maybe you need a little bit more testosterone. Those blood tests will help. Maybe it's the M-Sculpt Neo. Get rid of that fat. You can get rid of 30% of that belly fat. You add 25% of muscle fat with a non-invasive M-Sculpt Neo. They've got it all. But it's all with you. It's all about what you need. So you don't have to tell your friends you're doing it. You just give them a call. Get a consultation. You don't have to commit to anything. That's Invigorate Health. InvigorateHealthTN.com. My guys, Invigorate Health. Stillman and Company. We're delivered by TriStar Moving. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The voice of reason.
Have the players got to the point to where they know that you can't do that? Then maybe it's time to relax the rule.
The voice of the fan.
The offensive line was the worst looking thing about the whole team, and it set the tone for the game.
The voice of Nashville sports is your home of Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Buzz.
Nashville's rock station.
Buzz.
I wanna go with a woman on her back.
Nashville's rock station. 102.9. The Buzz.
The best music. 93.3 Classic Hits.
She's got Betty Davis eyes.
The best in pop, soul, and rock and roll. Right here, right now. 93.3 Classic Hits.
Beat goes.
We got the deal sounding like.
Ow, she's our bread. Ow.
We got the city on fire.
Somebody rockin' like you never.
Oh yeah, you gonna love this. 102.1. Deville.
Hey, Darren McFarland here, and let me tell you about my friends at Quration Cbd. If you're like me and have aches and pains all over your body, and you've been searching for a solution, well, I've got it. It's Quration Cbd. Quration means healing, and that right there says it all. Quration is locally and organically sourced CBD products right here from Middle Tennessee. From seed to final sell, Quration is passionate about providing quality products for everyday use for athletes and for pets too. Order yours now at QuationCompany.com. Quration CBD, curated for life.
312 Pizza Company is home to Southeastern Carolines with Caroline Fenton.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT-FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 1025. The Game. We are streaming every day on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. So one thing I love about a new coaching staff, NFL, college, I'm sure this happens in high school. This happens in the White House. You always blame your problems on the last guy. You always blame it on it's the last guy's fault. And I used to always think like, wow, that's a sorry excuse. And I remember Floyd saying, yeah, as long as you can get away with it, just blame it on the last guy. And that has been cyclical at the University of Tennessee, has it not?
Yes. I mean, because it's coach turnovers, that's athletic director turnovers of every single.
How can we get our recruiting classes right, Jared?
Every new coach that comes in, his first point of business is cleaning up the mess that the last one made.
So the Vols played Florida on Saturday. And I know Dan Mullen threw some shade and Todd Grantham threw some shade. And I don't know. I'm not sure I really care about any of that. But I'm sure you all do. So I'm sure it'll be addressed. But here's how I felt about the game. And this is without just going down the rabbit hole of blaming somebody else. Because I think that everybody else does enough of that as far as UT's concerned for me. I saw some really good things on Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I saw Josh Heupel. I know he's an offensive guru, right? Like he's supposed to be this offensive mastermind.
That's what he was brought in to do.
Right. He's supposed to be like Spurrier and like Chip Kelly and like Dan Mullen and like Bobby Petrino and like these just offensive coaches that just light it up. He got dudes open. I mean, he got that offense. Screen pass for a touchdown, busted coverage, guy runs right up the sideline. They had been, and I think it was Greg McElroy was like, Tennessee had been baiting them all night, waiting for that guy to get open. They finally got it. They hit a touchdown that way. They moved the ball on Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they moved the football. And so if we're looking at Josh Heupel and saying, okay, is this going to work out with Josh Heupel as the head coach at the University of Tennessee? He's getting guys open. Now, they don't have a quarterback who can get these guys the ball, especially Milton, but they can't catch the ball, and they can't really block, and their defense is a train wreck. But as far as what Heupel's meant to be, this offensive guru, he got dudes open. And they competed with Florida for 3/4 of the game, which is a lot better. I laid the 18 points and somehow, some way got a backdoor cover. But as far as when it was a game, Tennessee hung. I mean, I thought Tennessee played better than I expected them to against the Gators. But here's the other side of the coin. Tennessee's an undisciplined football team.
Mm-hmm.
They hit punters. They can't get 10 guys or 11 guys on the field for a punt return.
They had 85 yards in penalties that game. I mean, you're gifting Florida points at that point.
The discipline cost them the Pittsburgh game. And here's the Florida game, in which should have been a much closer game, but the Vols could not stay disciplined. And when you don't stay disciplined, and you can't catch the ball, and you can't get the right amount of guys on the football field, and you give up field position, when you're by far the worst team, that will catch up with you. And I thought it did in the second half. I thought Florida pulled away, not because Florida was that much better, but because Tennessee capitalized on so few of the opportunities they were given, and they gifted Florida, to your point, all those penalty yards. And ferocious. I mean, it was almost as bad as Mike McCarthy's last night. And we know Mike McCarthy and being a coach don't really go hand in hand. And I'm watching Josh Heupel, and I'm watching him ruin the opportunity to get points before the half. And I think to myself, he could recruit the best players in the country. That's not going away. That mistake of clock management, that's not going away. Even if you've got the best players in the country. This is college football. Did you watch the Manning cast last night?
I did.
Did you see before the half when Peyton was losing his mind because Mike McCarthy wouldn't call timeout?
Yes.
You know that if Peyton's playing and that's Jim Caldwell, Peyton's going to call the timeout.
Mm-hmm. He's going to do it himself.
He's going to go up to the coach and say, call timeout. You don't do that in college. So your coach has to be able to do it. And I get worried in an obvious timeout situation where Heupel's not taking it. I get worried that he's really an offensive coordinator who's playing the role of head coach. That he's not a head coach who's being a head coach and coaching his team and coaching his culture, but he's one of these coaches that, hey, I got the offense and I'll drop the best plays and Bobby will run the defense and I'll drop the best plays and we'll have the best. And I don't think you win like that in college football. Nick Saban's the best defensive coordinator in the sport, does not call plays and has not called plays for years and years and years as a head coach in college football. And I'm not saying Heupel should or shouldn't call the plays. I'm just saying if you can't manage the clock and call the plays at the same time, then something has to give. You're the head coach. Ed Orgeron doesn't call his plays. Dabo Swinney doesn't call his plays. A lot of these great college coaches have other guys run those sides of the ball. And so I thought that caught up to Heupel. So here's the thing. The good, when Heupel gets better players in here, and I think he will get better players, when Josh Heupel gets better players in there, they'll probably hit those wide open throws. They'll block better. They'll tackle better. They'll be able to cover better. And this is making the assumption that Heupel can recruit, which there is a question mark about. But just saying, looking positively here, they can't get worse players. So when they have better players, all those things will fall into place. Jalen Hyatt's dropping the football. When you get better players, they'll catch the ball. But the discipline, is that going to improve? I mean, is it Jeremy Pruitt's fault that Josh Heupel's players aren't disciplined? Cost you the Pittsburgh game. Gave 85 yards and penalties to the Gators. I'm not blaming Jeremy Pruitt for that. And that's not going to change. If Josh Heupel does not coach a disciplined football team, that doesn't change, no matter how good the players are. If Josh Heupel can't manage the clock, that does not change. I don't care how good the players get. Now, maybe you can be so good that all of your shortcomings are completely overshadowed by the fact that you just have better players than everybody else. But considering that in the last 20 years, I think that's happened once, 2019 LSU, I have a hard time believing that the Tennessee Volunteers and Josh Heupel are going to be able to load up a roster that good. So the good things to me were, hey, the Vols play with a lot of passion, and they get dudes open. And once they do that with better players, those getting dudes open, instead of once every 4 or 5 times hitting them for a touchdown, it's going to be once every 2 or 3 times hitting them for a touchdown. It's going to be blocking better and running the football more effectively. And you're going to win games doing it that way. But if you can't be disciplined, you're not going to beat Alabama. If you can't be disciplined, you can't play with Georgia. And you won't ever be able to play with Georgia as long as they're this good. And I want to remind you guys of a coach who got good players at Tennessee. And when he got those good players, they completed more passes. And they sacked more quarterbacks. And they blocked better. But Butch Jones never learned how to manage a game. And that ultimately was his downfall. He didn't know how to run the roster the right way. He could get them in. But he didn't know how to set the expectations for Jalen Hurd. And I look at the Vols and the discipline issues and the coaching issues on Saturday night, and I get worried that Josh Heupel is not going to be able to fix those even when he does get better players in. So I think there was some really positive signs Saturday night. I think he can scheme it up against anybody. But I think there was something that worried me about the long-term future of Tennessee, because in order for the Vols to be a legitimate college football power again, all these things are going to have to hit. All of them. So that was my takeaway from the game against the Gators. Your thoughts?
Well, I remember I told you, I don't know if this was last week, 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, I said that this Tennessee Volunteers offense has the potential to be dangerous. And you looked at me like I was certifiably insane. But I stand by what I said, and I think that we saw it against Florida, is that this offense does have the potential to be incredibly dangerous.
Define potential.
So this is what I mean. This offense, not this team. Josh Heupel's offense.
So you're talking about the X's and the O's and not the players.
Because the players don't fit in it. And I think that there are pieces of this offense. I think there are some solid wide receivers. I think that they have some solid running backs, especially coming up in the ranks. I think that there are pieces that
So
can
you
get
like
it done.
the scheme?
I like the scheme, and I like certain pieces. I don't like the quarterback. I don't think they have a good enough quarterback to be able to execute what Josh Heupel wants. I don't think that offensive
what you're
line.
saying, though,
I don't think that offensive line.
But what
is
you're
quite
saying
good enough.
about the idea about the potential for them to be dangerous, if you don't like the players, then they can't be dangerous.
I think that they have the potential to be.
So then you think the players are good enough to be dangerous?
I don't know. That's the thing. That's the potential here. Is I don't necessarily know. I think that we saw against Florida that what Tennessee was able to do was a little bit more impressive. What was more impressive than what we've seen from them in the past? And I do think they have the potential to be dangerous. I think that Josh Heupel has the potential to.
Well,
bring
if you hate the
something.
quarterbacks, then the offense can't be dangerous.
I don't hate the quarterbacks. From what I've seen from the quarterbacks, I don't think that they have been able to get done what Josh Heupel wants to get done.
Well, I just don't think they can hit any pass. Like, I don't think they can throw the ball down the field and complete the passing consistently.
A 75-yard pass on Saturday.
Yeah, one.
Yeah.
Do you know how many guys they've had wide open this season?
A lot.
If they hit the wide open guys, they beat Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Okay. Like, that's the thing. Is I'm telling you, when they get better players in here, they'll be able to hit those more consistently. But right now, they're not going to be able to hit those against anybody. They're not going to hit them. If you don't hit them against Bowling Green, you're not hitting them against Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt may be worse than Bowling Green, honestly. But, like, you're not going to hit those passes. So this team, to me,
that's a player thing.
But this team has no potential to be dangerous offensively. They can't hang 45 points in a real game.
Probably not.
So I don't see the potential that you're talking about. Now, if you're talking about the scheme, that if Heupel had good players, then the scheme could produce 45 points a game, I totally agree with you. But that is not this. Like, when you say to me that they have the potential to be dangerous, I feel like the Titans offense has the potential to be dangerous.
Yeah.
We know the quarterback's a Pro Bowler. We know the running back is an MVP candidate. We know the two wide receivers are both Pro Bowlers. We know the offensive line has Pro Bowlers. Like, that is an offense that has potential to be dangerous that is not dangerous. The Vols don't have any of that. Like, maybe Jalen Hyatt is going to be good. And he can't even catch the ball right now. So
Velus Jones is another one.
They don't ever give him the ball.
Which I don't understand why.
I mean, maybe because they want to put the other number one out there and they can't have the two number ones on the field at the same time.
Well, I feel like that's a pretty easy fix. Hey, change your number.
But getting excited about the potential, I can see that because I do think Heupel can scheme up against some of the best defenses in college football. The problem is, if you don't play discipline, like Nick Saban is going to get offensive coordinators in there. If we've learned anything over the last 5-6 years, I mean, Saban's going to get offensive coordinators in there that will scheme up against your defense too. And that Ole Miss has an offense right now that can scheme up anything and get guys open. And all these different teams do all, like, my issue is, can Heupel coach discipline? Can Heupel manage the clock? Because you can't win if you can't do those things. Like, if you cannot win these games if you cannot manage the clock. And right now, I mean, I watched the end of that first half, and I'm not sure Josh Heupel can do that. Let's get your phones. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Your thoughts. Again, I thought there was some good. To Caroline's point, I mean, if they had better players on offense, I mean, this is going to sound kind of crazy. If they had better players on offense, they'd score more points.
Well,
but,
thank you, Booker McFarland.
But they need better players. We all knew that. You know, the scheme looks like it can work. It doesn't look like this, bullcrap offense we watched with Jim Chaney for the last couple of years. I mean, that was just gross. But then, no discipline. And to me, I don't care if that's somebody else's players. You're the coach. Sam Pittman at Arkansas is not playing with his players. He's playing with Chad Morris's players. And he can get them to be disciplined. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. And did Saturday's game for Josh Heupel mean another thing? That the white whale that Tennessee football has to get becomes even more obvious even quicker. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Stillman and Company right here on ESPN 1025 The Game. ESPN 94.9 is the official English radio home of the Nashville Soccer Club. Listen in tomorrow night as Nashville SC takes on Orlando at Nissan Stadium. Pregame 7:15. The match begins at 7:30.
And the save made by Saros, and the Predators win it.
Nashville Predators Predators training camp is underway.
The Nashville Predators back in action.
We're closing in on the new season.
They kind of surprised everybody last year, so the natural reaction is they're just going to get better this year.
And your only home for coverage of the Preds is Smashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Panera believes in saying yes to things, like the new sausage and pepperoni flatbread, crafted with rich cheeses. Order on the app today. Panera, live your yes. Restrictions apply.
Bob's Steak and Chop House is a renowned award-winning steakhouse in major cities across the U.S. Nashville is lucky to have a location here in downtown at the Omni Nashville Hotel. Fine dining is brought to a new level at Bob's with awards like the Wine Spectator Award 4 years in a row, TripAdvisor Certificate of Excellence 5 years in a row, and Open Tables Diner's Choice Award 6 years in a row. Fine dining at its best. Bob's Steak and Chop House, open Wednesday through Saturday, 5 to 10 p.m. in the Omni Nashville Hotel. Complimentary valet parking is always available.
There are jewelry stores, and then there's Genesis Diamonds, the cutting-edge industry leader, the pioneer. It's no secret that jewelry stores across America watch what Genesis is doing. Genesis was the first to offer a free lifetime warranty, the first to offer a 110% diamond upgrade guarantee, the first to offer aggressive long-term zero-interest financing. And Genesis is always on the cutting edge in design and fashion. The styles other jewelers say are new and exciting were new and exciting for us 4 years ago. Genesis has the fashion-forward brands other stores aren't even allowed to carry. It's no wonder you see jewelers from other cities coming to Genesis to see what we're all about, and even buy their wives' jewelry from us. For selection, quality, service, warranties, and guarantees, Genesis leads. Others follow. So for diamonds, engagement rings, exclusive designer jewelry for any occasion, don't compromise. Come to the jeweler that sets the industry standards year after year. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Yo, it's Teron Davenport here to tell you about my friends at Freedom Tire Guys. They're Nashville's premier mobile tire company, and they do it all. New tires, balance, rotation, everything. Bill, a recent customer of theirs, loved the way they came to him and saved him time and money. So if you're like Bill, you like convenience, and you need some new tires, check out freedomtireguys.com. If you don't see the tires you like, give them a call, and they'll find them for you. Check them out today at freedomtireguys.com.
You're trying to hire and keep your business going. The problem is many qualified people don't know that you're hiring. Let the world know by using radio. Radio is by far the best way to recruit and retain qualified workers. Learn more by attending one of 2 free SHRM certified radio recruitment and retention seminars hosted by Chris Stonick, one of the nation's leading retention and recruitment experts. October 5th at the Hotel Preston in Nashville, and a second seminar will be held October 6th at the Drury Plaza Hotel in Franklin. More details at thegamenashville.com/register.
Contest rules for 102.5 The Game and ESPN 94.9, including on-air, online, and text-based contests, are available by visiting the contest rules page at thegamenashville.com. Good luck and thanks for listening to 102.5 The Game and ESPN 94.9.
If you've missed any of today's show, just search Stillman and Company on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
Really didn't want to play Joe in this game if we could, just based off of the amount of work that he got during the week and where we felt like he was at the end of the week. I thought Hendon played hard, competed, made some big time plays inside of the pocket, used his feet, opportunistic. Had a play or two down the field that we didn't connect on. I thought he handled the noise, the communication for the most part in a really positive way during the course of the game. Handled the ups and downs and continued to fight and compete and do it in a positive way, get on the sideline in his demeanor too. So, a ton of positives there.
That was Josh Heupel after the game. Joe Milton had to go in. Hendon Hooker hurt. Hendon Hooker may not be able to play this week either. Guessing he probably is not.
I think it's probably Milton in this week.
And let me say this, both guys stink, but especially Milton.
I think if I am Josh Heupel, I think I put Hooker above Joe Milton.
Oh, well, I think he did, right?
Against Florida, it could have been like a Joe Milton was still kind of hurt thing. Like, we'll put him in if we absolutely need to. I don't know.
You know what's funny about that?
What?
I don't care.
Why?
Remember what I told you during preseason, and they were like, the Vols quarterback battle, is it going to be Hendon Hooker or Harrison Bailey, and I told you I don't care.
Because you think no matter what they'll be bad.
Because I think they all suck. I think Hendon Hooker is the best by far. I think he is the best.
I would agree with you.
I think Milton has no accuracy. Clearly, Harrison Bailey is awful. So I don't care who's the quarterback for the Vols. But I do wonder this. We were talking about Josh Heupel's scheme. It worked on Saturday. Now, some of that may be Todd Grantham and his shortcomings as a defensive coordinator, but it worked on Saturday for Josh Heupel. And I do wonder that I have said this. You can tell me whatever you want about Tennessee football and Heupel and recruiting class rankings and good, bad, and I don't care about any of it until you find what I consider in college football to be your franchise quarterback. And we all know them when we see them. You know, the Supreme Court ruled one time on pornography. I know it when I see it. What's the difference between somebody naked in an oil painting and, those websites you don't want your kids visiting? You know it when you see it. In college football, when it comes to a franchise quarterback, this isn't like the NFL where you get an Aaron Rodgers, you have him for 15 years. But a program-changing quarterback or program-elevating quarterback when you see one. Now, Nick Saban's been able to do it without some of those guys. But we know that Joe Burrow was a program elevator at LSU. We know Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence. In my school, we had Teddy Bridgewater and Lamar Jackson, and we knew those guys were franchise quarterbacks. And I look at Tennessee, and I think that you can make the argument that Josh Dobbs, on the low end, was a franchise quarterback at UT. But other than that, who have they had in that spot for the last 20 years? Peyton Manning was a franchise quarterback. You could argue one of the Clausens maybe. But once you get into
Eric Ainge.
No. Once you get into him and Tyler Bray and Jonathan Crompton, and those guys played a lot of games at UT. But they were never program elevators. And that's what Tennessee has to have. And it's easy for me to be blunt and say, Josh Heupel needs the next Peyton Manning. He needs to find him. He needs to recruit him. He needs to get him in. And everybody says, well, but Jared, how can you do this? And how can you expect that out of Tennessee? And how? And I'll just say this. Keep losing. You have an offensive coach. You're not going to build it up by being physical like Arkansas has done. Look at Texas A&M. I think this is a great example. You know when Jimbo Fisher wins games? When he's got the best quarterback, because he's an offensive coach. Nick Saban doesn't have to have the best quarterback. Lane Kiffin's got to have a good quarterback. And so they've got to find at Tennessee whoever that guy is. And every year, every team in the SEC recruits a quarterback, and somebody tells me this kid's the best quarterback in the country. I remember one year I was told that Justin Fields was the best quarterback in the country, and then Clemson also recruited the best quarterback in the country because Georgia got one, and then I'm like, who's the best quarterback in the country? I don't know who's the best. And it doesn't have to be a 5-star. It can be my school, Lamar Jackson. Teddy Bridgewater was a bona fide 5-star that any school in the country would have taken. Lamar Jackson was a 3-star. People wondered if he could play quarterback at the college level. But he was a franchise guy. Heupel's got to find and develop that guy, and until he does, the SEC is too competitive, and the style of game they want to play is too hard if you don't have that franchise quarterback. So with me and Tennessee's recruiting rankings, I don't care. I don't care about any. Find me the franchise guy. Find me the guy that Heupel can bring in next year who can, kind of play, kind of not. And by the middle of the year, by about October 15th, is the starting quarterback of the Tennessee Volunteers. And that by the end of the year, for at least the next 2 years, he's your starter.
But that is so much easier said than done.
But everybody who's good does it.
Do they?
Look at the Clemson Tigers.
Picking up some quarterback who may be good, maybe not.
Look at the Clemson Tigers.
They knew Trevor Lawrence was going to be good when coming in.
Right. But remember, they thought this kid, DJ Uiagalelei, they thought he was going to be that guy too.
I mean, I guess you look at Spencer Rattler, too, at Oklahoma. Everyone thought that he was the next coming when he was coming into Oklahoma. I mean, he's sophomore year of high school. He was one of the most talked about high school football players in the country.
You know what's crazy, though?
And he's not been that great.
But you know what's crazy?
What?
Rattler still right now has the potential to be a franchise quarterback in Oklahoma. They haven't lost a game this year. And last year he was supposedly.
They almost lost a game.
But they haven't lost a game.
I know.
In college football.
It wasn't pretty.
In college football, as a Power 5 school, all that matters is whether or not you win them. You go undefeated in a Power 5, you're in the playoff, especially this year where the ACC is not going to have a representative.
Mm-hmm.
And the Big Ten, unless it's Penn State, the Big Ten's probably not going to have a representative either. I mean, Spencer Rattler may end up figuring it out at Oklahoma. I have questions about Lincoln Riley. I think that Ryan Day and Lincoln Riley are two coaches that everybody just praised, and nobody thought, when you have Bob Stoops' roster and when you have Urban Meyer's roster, it's a lot easier to win games, and now they're having to win it with their own rosters and their own coaching staffs, and these games are a lot closer. And, we would take a look at that, but they need a franchise quarterback. Tennessee needs one. And you can tell me that, boy, I'll tell you, that's a lot easier said than done. Matt Nagy's going to get fired in Chicago because he couldn't turn Mitchell Trubisky into a franchise quarterback. And because Justin Fields isn't one fast enough. That's how football works. If you can't get the quarterback, if you can't find that guy, you're packed up. Jeff Fisher, coach of the Titans. Everybody thinks Jeff Fisher's a bad coach right now. And for the most part, I think they're probably right. But when Jeff Fisher took the job, they drafted Steve McNair, franchise quarterback. Everybody in America thought Jeff Fisher was a good coach. It's amazing to think because Jeff Fisher's back end was so bad that on the front end, every time that we talked around here about firing Jeff Fisher, they would say, if you fire Jeff Fisher, he'll get a job tomorrow. And now everybody laughs about Jeff Fisher. But he had Steve McNair as his franchise quarterback, won a lot of games. They draft Vince Young. Now, I still think Fisher is the one who messed up Vince Young, but Vince had his own issues. Didn't work out with Vince Young. Guess what happened? He got fired. Goes to the Rams, drafts Sam Bradford. Doesn't work out. Guess what? He gets fired. Franchise quarterbacks in football, college, pro, you got to have them if you want to compete at a high level. My school, Louisville, for example. I think we're going to be 8-4 almost every year. Some years we'll be 6-6. Some years, miraculously, with a down ACC, we'll get 9 or 10 wins. But for the most part, we're an 8-4 school. And we've got a quarterback in Mikhail Cunningham, who I don't think is very good, but he's good enough for us, and we can beat Florida State with him because Florida State's not any good.
They're bad.
And that'll be fine for us. But when I talk about the University of Tennessee and the teams they've got to beat, we're talking about Ole Miss, Alabama, Georgia, Florida. And you're not going to do that with average quarterback play with an offensive coach. So you can do it with T. Martin if you've got an offensive line coach in Philip Fulmer who goes out and dominates in recruiting, and you've got Peerless Price at wide receiver, and you've got a great offensive and defensive line. You can do it. Tennessee, the last great Tennessee team was 2001. Rick Clausen was the quarterback. But they had Albert Hainsworth and John Henderson on the defensive line. They had Kelly Washington and Dante Stallworth at wide receiver. They won a national title with Jamal Lewis. But that's not how Heupel wants to play. So I look at this and I say, you know what? If he can't get that guy, then don't bother me with anything else about him because he can't win without having a high-end college quarterback. It's got to have one.
It feels so simple to say that because, you say, okay, you need to get an elite Heisman Trophy caliber quarterback in here. Okay, great. Let me just go out there and find one. And I understand you. I understand that the best teams in college football have the best quarterbacks, have the quarterbacks that are in conversation for the Heisman. I understand that. It feels too simple to say that all you need is you just need to go out there and find an elite quarterback.
It's simple to say, but
it's true.
Hard to do.
And it's incredibly hard to do.
But nobody said coaching at Tennessee was easy.
No.
So when you take that job and you get that salary and you get those perks, life's a two-way street now. There is an expectation. And this is why I've always said about being a talk radio host. You say things and people get mad and they can get worked up and so upset and whatever. And it's like Taylor Lewan crying after the game the other day about the fans. Dude, you make $13 million. There's expectations. Mm-hmm. And so you are the coach of the Tennessee Volunteers. You get to fly everywhere you go in a private jet. There's expectations. I was at Coaches versus Cancer last week. Rick Barnes was there, and so was, Penny Collins at TSU. And I love Penny, but Penny doesn't make $5 million a year. And Penny doesn't fly on a private jet everywhere he goes. And they didn't say this specifically, but Penny talked about how to get their COVID testing done at TSU, they had to wait in a line at the Meharry Medical School in order to get COVID tested. I'm going to guess the Tennessee basketball program didn't have to do that. I'm guessing they came to them. But with that come expectations. So if Penny makes an NCAA tournament, everybody will go bananas that TSU's there. If Rick Barnes makes an NCAA tournament and loses to Oregon State in the first round, everybody's going to be mad because there's expectations. So you're right. It is simple to say. It is easy for me to sit in this chair today and tell everybody that Tennessee has to go find the next high-end elite quarterback. I know it's hard to do, but that's why you get paid. What Sam Pittman is doing at Arkansas is one of the best coaching turnarounds I have ever seen in the last 20 years in the SEC. I think that there are 3 times that I've seen a guy go into a job in the SEC and just turn it upside down. Nick Saban at Alabama in 2 years had them as a national title contender, but Arkansas was a lot worse than Alabama was where Saban took it over. James Franklin, when he took that 2-10, Bobby Johnson, Robbie Caldwell, Vandy thing, 6-6 right away, 8-4 in year 2. And Sam Pittman at Arkansas. And I can't tell you which one I think is the best. Like, those 3 are all together. And I can't tell you what he's done at Arkansas from a 2-win team 2 years ago in COVID to turn around and put together a pretty decent Arkansas squad last year to now be a top 10 team in the country is literally as good as Nick Saban taking over, a moribund Alabama program and turning them in 3 years later the national champions. That's how good of a coaching job that is. It's a lot harder to do. There are so many people out there that think they can do what Sam Pittman's done, and there's nobody out there. 2 guys in the last 20 years in the SEC that have done that. And I'm not even counting Urban Meyer and what he did at Florida. Like, that is how impressive this turnaround that we've seen from Arkansas, James Franklin at Vandy, Saban at Alabama, and how hard it is to do. So when I tell you, this is what Tennessee's got to do, and you're like, well, that's really hard. Yes, but this is hard. 615-737-1025 will get your reaction. 615-737-1025. But I do need to address something. Coming back to the program. Normally, I don't do like this, where people get mad about something I say, and then I address it, because normally it's like, that's your opinion of my opinion, and so you can talk about whatever you want to interpret it. I said what I said. But everybody seems to be mad at me about something that I said. So I'll address it next. And it will be the one time that I do this. So as Nick Saban would say, get out your computers and laptops and Twitter and Facebook and don't ask me again. 615-737-1025. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. There is no better time to upgrade your essential home systems than this month with Hiller. Hiller is offering you credits for your old home systems. So you can trade in your old HVAC unit. You can earn up to $1,500 in credits towards select new systems. You can upgrade from a standard water heater to a tankless water heater and earn up to $500 with your trade. Trade up a new electrical panel, earn up to $500 in credits with your old one. Their work is backed by the Happy OB or Services Free guarantee, and their technicians at Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical are continuing to take measures to keep you and your family safe and healthy on every single call. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, my guys, proud supporters of the Nashville Predators, the Vanderbilt Commodores, and the Tennessee Volunteers. Hiller, call the Happy Face truck today.
Titans, Jets. It's time to take care of business in the Big Apple. Tune in Sunday at 9:30 for NFL pregame with Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard. Live from Corner Pub in Brentwood. We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of pills? Well, I have breaking news. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most proven form of wave technology available, clinically shown by Cambridge to open up and regrow blood vessels. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED by treating the root cause, call us now, and not only will the assessment and blood flow ultrasound be free, we'll also include something unique that produces powerful results in the bedroom. You're going to love that. And to those that call in the next 2 minutes, you'll qualify for an extra treatment free. This is an unheard of value worth hundreds of dollars. Call 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your love life back. Call Hillside Medical Clinic in the next 2 minutes to qualify for this unprecedented offer. 615-576-5000.
Well, after 20 years on the same sideline, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick meet this weekend as opponents. It's the GOAT QB versus the GOAT head coach. And you can be part of the epic showdown with unbelievable odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. Joe Rexler here to let you know that new customers can win $125 on a $5 bet if either team scores a touchdown. 25-1 odds on any touchdown anytime during the Tampa Bay-New England game. I think there's going to be a few. This is a great opportunity on the best sportsbook app in America. Of course, same game parlays. You can do so many things. Money line spread, all kinds of different statistical props. FanDuel's easy to use. It's safe and secure. The payouts are fast. Get in on it. Sign up for FanDuel Sportsbook. Use promo code Joe102. Make your first bet one for the history books. Don't forget, promo code Joe102 so they know I sent you. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. New users only. $10 first deposit required. Must wager in designated offer market. Max bonus $125. Bonus for Tennessee users fulfilled in site credit within 72 hours. Tennessee site credit expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line. 800-889-9789.
Parman Tractor and Equipment is your one-stop tractor and equipment solution and Middle Tennessee's Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer. No matter how you're getting there, start with Parman Tractor and Equipment. Rent or purchase a track loader, mini excavator, large excavators for your job site, or something in between. Their service and parts team will get your work site up and running in no time. Parman Tractor and Equipment will come to you for service if needed. Visit ParmanTractor.com for more info. Your Middle Tennessee Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer, providing totally outrageous customer service.
Do you have a VA or FHA home loan? You gotta listen to this important update from Loan Pronto. You can refi now and snag a new rate in the low twos. Lower your house payment big time. Hey, it's Willie Donick, and wait, it gets even better. With Loan Pronto, you can do this with no appraisal, no income documentation, and no cash due at signing. Who else does this? VA and FHA mortgage rates have come down a lot. You need to act now. Loan Pronto specializes in VA and FHA streamlined loan. They can even cover all your closing costs, and you will love their all-digital, no-hassle process. Call Loan Pronto now or go to loanpronto.com. They also have options where VA homeowners can refinance and get cash out of your home's equity, up to 100% of its value, pay off credit cards, or do that home improvement project. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. VA and FHA loans made simple, 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. Not all loans eligible for zero-cost refi.
MTSU football returns to Floyd Stadium October 2nd for the annual Blackout game against the Thundering Herd of Marshall. Kickoff at 6 p.m. The official Blackout ticket t-shirt package on sale now for just $15. Floyd Stadium provides guaranteed fun for fans of all ages with the Blue Raider Beer Garden featuring Steel Barrel Brewery, the Family Fun Zone offering inflatables, carnival games, and an ice cream station. Get tickets at goblueraiders.com/tickets and enter promo code Blackout2021. Go Blue Raiders.
Hey Nashville, Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lee here, inviting you to tune in on ESPN 94.9 every Monday at 6 p.m. for the Commodore Hour, providing you with exclusive insights on Vanderbilt athletics.
Hey Nashville, I'm Gary Smith, head coach of Nashville SC. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Stillman and Company, boy, were a lot of people mad. First, let me tell all the fine folks out there do you want a pair of tickets to see the Predators take on the Sharks at Bridgestone Arena Tuesday, October 26th? Head over to YouTube and subscribe to the 102.5 The Game YouTube page, and you'll enter for your chance to see the Preds take on the Sharks. One winner will be chosen on Monday, October 4th. So everybody loves to play Cold Take with Jared. Now, here's the thing. Every show that we do is on YouTube. Mm-hmm. It's on Twitter. Mm-hmm. It's podcasted. Mm-hmm. We don't ever doctor those. Like, we don't ever change them. We don't ever, they're there. I said it. It happened. My tweets, I don't delete them. So when I say, oh, man, I think that the Seattle game could be 59-0 bad, I didn't take it down. So yesterday, a lot of people were mad. Mm-hmm. And they said, Jared Stillman said Ryan Tannehill should be benched. And all I said was, I didn't say that. And then somebody else says, no, I heard it. And I said, I didn't say that. And then somebody else said, we've got the tape of you saying it. Now, before we play this, I'm going to ask you guys, do you think that yesterday I said that Ryan Tannehill should be benched as the quarterback of the Titans?
You didn't say those words.
Ian, did I say that?
I don't think I heard those words, no.
Okay. So, and we all know me. If I think it's time for a coach to go or a quarterback to get, sat down, you're going to hear that from me now. And, yeah, I was mad about the interception that he threw. Vrabel is still mad about the interception. But here's what I said yesterday, which somebody said is the tape of me saying that Tannehill should be benched. Here's what I said yesterday. Take a listen.
Well, the Titans gifted the Colts 10 points.
Just gifted.
Here on a silver platter. We feel bad. Here's 10 points.
And you cannot. That's how you lose to bad teams. And yesterday, I mean, I look, I'm with you. The third and fourth receivers, it's not going to do it for you in the NFL. Like, you can't win in the NFL doing that. I get it. But I just, Tannehill's got to make better decisions. I should not be here. We should not be doing a pro and con with Tannehill, where it is, well, he did one good thing and then he did one bad thing. Because as I've mentioned several times, Ryan Tannehill is not a good enough player for you to be able to survive with that. It's like the guy in baseball who hits a bunch of home runs but strikes out a lot too. Ryan Tannehill's not that guy. Ryan Tannehill is not a 350-yard, 4-touchdown-a-game quarterback. He is an efficient quarterback. And when you hand the football to the other team or you throw the ball aimlessly in the middle of the field like he did yesterday, you're letting the other team into the game. When Logan Woodside's your backup quarterback and you don't slide, that's bad decision-making. I mean, even Vrabel was like Titan fans, and this one wasn't just the only one, but they were trying to almost defend Ryan Tannehill for that interception in the middle of the field, which I thought was indefensible.
Mm-hmm. That was bad.
I thought that interception in the middle of the field, if it were anybody else, would be benching type stuff. Like if you threw that ball and you weren't my established $30 million a year quarterback, I'm taking you out of the game. Like that's the kind of thing I see that I'm like out of the game. They thought that meant that Tannehill should be benched. The line of, if it were anybody else, if you weren't my established $30 million quarterback, yeah. If you're Tyrod Taylor and you throw that ball to the other team, you're out. There was a game a couple years ago against the Chargers where Marcus Mariota just threw the ball right to the other team. It was in London, and it was right before the half, and the Titans were driving, and it was right by the end zone, and Marcus threw it, and I saw it, and it was so bad, just like the Tannehill interception the other day. It was so bad that I literally was like, if Blaine Gabbert wasn't my backup, he'd be out of the game. Because you can't win in the NFL throwing passes like that. But when you're Aaron Rodgers, when you're Russell Wilson, when you are an established starting quarterback, you can make a couple of those throws and it'd be okay. And that's why I said, if it's somebody else, they're going to the bench. If I'm the 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo throws that ball, going to the bench. Trey, get in there. Andy Dalton throws that ball, bench. Dak Prescott throws that ball, Dak don't throw that ball anymore. That's the difference. And I don't know how you can take that. When I said, if it was anybody else, we'd be talking benching. And people to say, you said bench Tannehill. In fact, that's the opposite of what I said. But yeah, I'm still mad about that interception. But this idea of like, hey, we've got the tape. You said you'd bench Tannehill. I never said such thing. And I don't even like discussing it because I know what I said, and I said what I said, and I stand by what I said. I'm not walking anything back. I actually thought Tannehill's performance Sunday was terrible. Even Vrabel. Ian, can we get the clip of Vrabel talking about that interception that he threw? The one that made me so mad? Like this idea of, well, Aaron Rodgers throws interceptions too. Right. But Aaron Rodgers can throw for 400 yards in a game. Tannehill cannot. Aaron Rodgers does not just gift wrap the ball to the other team. When Aaron Rodgers plays a team as bad as that Colts team usually, it's 41-14 like it was in the snow last year against the Titans, or the Christmas Day 2012 when Aaron Rodgers beat the Titans 55-0. That's usually what that's like. Vrabel yesterday still isn't happy about the Tannehill interception. Take a listen.
First interception by Ryan. I know it didn't sound like you were obviously too pleased about it yesterday. I wonder if you got a chance to look at it.
Still not as pleased with it.
Did you get a chance to look at it again on tape? And
I'd seen it once. I didn't need to watch it twice.
Were there, like Ryan mentioned, there was like kind of a miscommunication?
There you go.
Okay.
The guy throwing the ball says it was miscommunication. Guess who am I to tell you any differently?
He don't want to talk about
it. He's done.
He doesn't want to talk about it.
His son's pitching.
Because there was a rod up his rear end with how mad he was at Tannehill for throwing that football. So, I mean, I don't get into to Twitter trolls very often because they're plentiful, and once one goes away, a new one shows up. But the amount of people that were like, I heard it yesterday. You heard the audio. Do you think I said that Tannehill should be benched?
No, you didn't say that.
Ian, you heard the audio. You think I said Tannehill should be benched?
Not specifically, no.
Okay. And if I think that there's a point in time where they need to bench Ryan Tannehill, I'll be the first to tell you. Now, this was, again, one of the reasons why I didn't want necessarily to trade for Julio Jones. Because in order to do so, you were probably going to have to extend Ryan Tannehill's contract, which is exactly what the Titans did. So now, the way it was before was Tannehill was your quarterback last year, this year, and next year. Now, Tannehill is committed from a cap standpoint to being your quarterback this year, next year, and the year after that. So even if you did bench him, you're stuck with him for this year and 2 more. And I wasn't in favor of committing myself that far to Tannehill. And I love Tannehill. But I think we got to be real, too, about Tannehill. And we got to be real about what his limitations are and how you win with him. You cannot look at him like the other quarterbacks and say, hey, go win me like Patrick Mahomes wins me games. Go win me like Aaron Rodgers. Go win me like these. That's not how he's going to work. And so, I mean, I'm still upset about the performance against the Colts. There's 2 things that we're doing a lot of that really bother me. One is the taking a dumb decision, right? Like, let's use drinking and driving as an example. Drinking and driving is a really bad, really risky decision, right? Mm-hmm. And if your kid went drinking and driving, how mad would you be at your kid, even if they got the car home?
I would be furious.
Okay. In the NFL, and I'm not equating, drinking and driving to decisions that are made in football that's a game. But in the NFL, playing your division rival and throwing the ball over the middle in a panic right into the arms of the linebacker is a bad decision that has humongous ramifications. When you're running for a first down and you've gotten the first down and you want to try to get 10 more yards and you don't slide, that has humongous ramifications. Ask Michael Vick if not sliding has huge ramifications for a quarterback. Ask the Dallas Cowboys what life was like last year when Dak Prescott was gone for the rest of the season. So you can all sit there and say, well, I think that Tannehill should slide, but, well, it's easy to say that today. Just like it's easy to say, hey, drinking and driving's bad. Like, I know you made it home, but drinking and driving's bad. It's a lot worse if something bad happens. And that's the way I felt about the way Tannehill played Sunday. And I'm not taking it back. I feel like there's a lot of people out there that want me to take it back. I'm not taking it back. Like, I thought his performance Sunday, for what he is supposed to do for you, I thought it was terrible. Because the hallmark of his success is efficiency and good decision-making. And to me, he threw the good decision-making out the window. That doesn't mean he's bad at decision-making, but what he's good at, he didn't do on Sunday. So that's just what got me all worked up. But then everybody's saying I said that Tannehill should be benched. I never said that. And you can't win. I said to somebody today, and this is a total knock on wood, right? Mm-hmm. Like totally knock on wood. If you had to lose one for the year, Henry or Tannehill, who would you rather lose for the year?
Tannehill.
Ian, if you had to lose one, knock on wood, Henry or Tannehill for the year, who would you rather lose?
That is a tough one.
And I'm the guy who, like, when you play the drinking game, would you rather?
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the guy who's like, oh, neither. Your season's screwed if you lose either one of these guys. It is done if you lose either one of these guys. The Colts can lose one of their running backs. They can lose Jonathan Taylor because they still got Marlon Mack. Like, they can lose that guy. They'll be, they won't be as good, but they'll be okay. You lose Derrick Henry, and it's Mekhi Sargent at running back. You ain't going to win. You might beat the Jets.
In a run-heavy offense.
You ain't going to win without Derrick Henry. Because then they're not loading the box for Mekhi Sargent. And Tannehill now is throwing to Nick Westbrook-Akina in double coverage. And that's not going to work out very well. But I guess, you can't win without Tannehill. And I know that. Because we saw them start the 2019 season at 2-4 without Ryan Tannehill. So we know what that looks like. We saw them try to beat the Colts in week 18 of 2018, week 17 of 2018. With Blaine Gabbert at quarterback. Can't win. So they can't win without Tannehill, and they can't win without Henry. So I would never advocate for them to bench Ryan Tannehill. So, but at the same time, that does not mean I'm okay with the decisions that Ryan Tannehill made on Sunday. And I need the decision-making to get better from Ryan Tannehill. And Joe Rexrode, and I feel like Joe is practicing a little revisionist history when it comes to the first game against Arizona, where when you watch the play, that I think ultimately, and I don't know what the flow chart of win probability, I don't know what that was in the Arizona game. When Chandler Jones sacked Ryan Tannehill and he fumbled the ball and Arizona recovered it up 3-0 on the 1-yard line, that was pretty big. That kind of set the whole game in motion. Arizona can now do whatever you want. You're not going to be able to run Derrick Henry as much. Their DNs know they can pin their ears back and come after you, and it did everything. Tannehill turns around on the naked boot. He sees Chandler Jones. He's trying to avoid the sack, so he takes the ball out, trying to throw it. Just, throw it, whatever, and see if we can save the down and not lose the 10 yards and get spanked, which is going to happen. Chandler Jones puts his hand right there, knocks the ball loose. Tannehill exposed the football. It's bad decision-making. You're trying to save 7 or 8 yards, and instead you give them the ball on the 1-yard line. That's bad decision-making from a guy who does not make bad decisions. And if you go to the Rams and he makes bad decisions, you lose. And if you go and play Buffalo on Monday night and he makes bad decisions, you lose. That's how you won those Raven games and those Patriot games. He made the right decisions, and then Derrick Henry ran his ass off. That's how you win. So, again, just to clarify, I didn't say Tannehill should be benched. But I think we need a reality check here as far as what you need from Ryan Tannehill and what the expectations for Ryan Tannehill should be. And I don't feel like I should have to apologize for that. And for everybody out there who thinks I'm going to change what I'm saying, I'm not going to. And you shouldn't be surprised because I never have. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, we were talking about it before the show, and this by no means defines Ryan Tannehill as a quarterback, does not define his career in Tennessee. But it felt like against Indianapolis, he made reckless decisions.
Sure.
He didn't slide, that interception, which to your point, Ryan Tannehill's claim to fame, the reason why he's brought this team so much success is because he is a game manager and he does have a solid head and he has great reads. He makes good decisions, and he is a leader for this team. But that's not necessarily what I saw on Sunday. I mean, the refusal to slide set me over the edge. The stupid interception set me over the edge. I don't think that Tannehill is a reckless quarterback, but I think that he made some reckless decisions on Sunday.
Ryan Tannehill cannot do those things, and you win. He cannot expose the football to Chandler Jones. He cannot dive like he did for the touchdown against Detroit last year where he exposed his right arm and his shoulder. You can't do that. And I keep saying for everybody out there that acts like, well, it's okay because nothing bad happened. It's like drinking and driving. If you drink and drive, which you better not, but if you do, and you get from point A to point B, and nobody gets hurt, and no car gets wrecked, and no cop pulls you over, and no...
You're lucky.
But we all know that if you keep doing that, eventually something really, really bad is going to happen.
Your luck runs out.
If you don't slide, if you throw the ball in the middle of the field, if you do all those things, you throw the ball in the middle of the field because you're panicked at a blitz coming, chance it gets intercepted, taken back the other way. Again, ask the Dallas Cowboys how it felt last year when Dak Prescott got tackled and broke his ankle. So I hope the message gets through to Tannehill because... And I don't know what Tannehill thinks of himself, but he cannot play outside of himself. He cannot try to play better than he is. I keep using baseball analogies here, but I think it's kind of fair. Like, if you've got a guy like Reggie Miller who can hit from anywhere on the floor, I don't want him posting up. And I don't want Shaquille O'Neal coming outside to shoot threes. So, Tannehill, I don't need him to be Patrick Mahomes. When the sack's there and you got nothing else, take the sack. Punting is not the end of the world. But if this idea that I'm going to take back what I said yesterday, I'm not taking it back. I am not taking it back. 615-737-1025. We'll hit the headlines with Caroline. We'll do that coming up next. Tons of stuff to get into as well. Trevor Maddich in the next hour. Stillman and Company were delivered by TriStar Moving. It's ESPN 1025 The Game.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Sunny skies continue this afternoon. High temperature heading up to 85 degrees. Storms move back into the forecast for the second half of the week.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Panera believes in saying yes to things, like the new sausage and pepperoni flatbread, crafted with rich cheeses. Order on the app today. Panera, live your yes. Restrictions apply.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics is conveniently located where you live and work. With over 10 locations in Nashville and surrounding communities, Houston physicians specialize in spine, joint replacement, knee, hip, upper extremity, as well as many other orthopedic conditions. At Houston Clinic Orthopedics, they are strictly adhering to all CDC guidelines for both their patients and staff safety. To experience world-class orthopedic care and to see a list of all Houston physicians and specialties, visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online today.
When you purchase a certified pre-owned vehicle from Mercedes-Benz of Music City, you have the power of the star backing your car. To meet certification standards, a car has to be less than 6 years old with less than 75,000 miles. All certified vehicles come with 24/7 personal assistance and an extra 12-month unlimited mileage warranty. Right now, you can get 1.99% financing for 36 months on select 2017 to 2019 certified models at Mercedes-Benz of Music City. See more at mbofmc.com.
Your goals, your future, your dreams. These things are none of our business. Your symptoms, your work from home sweatpants, and whatever you were searching for at 1:15 a.m. That's really none of our business. Because your life is private. And unlike other tech companies, we think your internet should be too. Oh, who's that from? That's none of our business either. Protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Trust the roofers with integrity. E2 Roofing is a veteran-owned and operated local Nashville roofer with over 90 5-star Google ratings and an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. While roofing is our business at E2, honor is our code. For roof repair, roof replacement, free inspections, or insurance claim assistance, visit e2roofingnashville.com.
Most shoppers today fall into one of two categories. You could be like Dave, who settles for nothing but the finest.
I drive only European luxury sedans, wear the finest Italian leather shoes, my shirts are custom made, and I expect white glove service from those I do business with. I appreciate world-class brands, and at this point in my life, I just don't want to compromise on quality, no matter what I buy.
Or you might be like Steve, whose goal is to always get the best deal.
I'm frugal. I'm all about finding value. I want the best price, and I don't mind going out of my way to get it. I work hard for my money. I just want to make sure when I buy something, I can have confidence in knowing I'm not overpaying for it. Stop being cheap. It's being smart.
You never see these two guys in the same store. Except for one.
That's why I shop at Genesis Diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds is that rare shopping experience where you can have it all. Uncompromising luxury and unbeatable value. Exceptional service and the guaranteed best price in America. A premium experience and a smart purchase. This is where the best of all worlds come together. Genesis Diamonds, voted best jewelry store year after year. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Contest rules for 102.5 The Game and ESPN 94.9, including on-air, online, and text-based contests, are available by visiting the contest rules page at thegamenashville.com. Good luck and thanks for listening to 102.5 The Game and ESPN 94.9.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT-FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Karen Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 1025 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube every day. Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Trevor Maddich, ESPN college football analyst, will join us in about 25 minutes or so. Great weekend of college football. I got to tell you, I was a little surprised, Arkansas. A little surprised. I have a giant Razorback. Well, I'll just leave it at that. I just love Sam Pittman at Arkansas. And I actually
You do love him at Arkansas.
I look back, like a tweet from November 7th of last year, the day that TriStar Moving moved my house from the other side of Green Hills to this side of Green Hills. Mm-hmm. The day that they moved was the Tennessee-Arkansas game, and I went back and I saw that I had tweeted out that day, Sam Pittman is a terrific coach. And I stand by it. I love him. Can't wait to talk to Trevor about Sam Pittman. And by the way, Jimbo Fisher and his $100 billion per year that they've given him fully guaranteed till the end of time might want to get him to find a quarterback. By the way, and I'll rip on Jimbo in a little bit, there's another thing that drove me crazy, but it is time for Headlines with Caroline.
We're spanning the sports world. It's Headlines with Caroline on Stillman and Company, right here on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Headlines with Caroline, presented by Fiero Tequila, the spiciest infused tequila on the market. The world belongs to the brave.
Got some betting headlines for you. So a little Headlines with Caroline's mashup here. But Ole Miss quarterback Matt Corral has emerged as the Heisman favorite after week 4. Huge improvement from his preseason odds of 50-1, now down to about 3-1. So his odds are at plus 160. Following very close behind him at plus 200 is Bryce Young. So Ole Miss plays Alabama this weekend, and I think that this game, Ole Miss-Alabama, has so many implications. SEC West leader, and I think also the Heisman, because winner of this game, the odds are going to completely shift in their favor. Spencer Rattler began the season as the consensus Heisman favorite, now has 25-1 odds to win. Desmond Ridder behind Matt Corral and Bryce Young at 18-1 odds, and Georgia quarterback JT Daniels at 30-1 odds. So Matt Corral has written himself a nice little Heisman resume so far this season.
So I think this is a huge game as far as the Heisman race is concerned. I've never been one that cares much about the Heisman. Because whatever. I don't care about MVP awards.
It's the greatest honor in football.
Winning the championship is the greatest honor. That's the greatest
individual honor.
Right, and I don't, MVPs and what like the things that get me, like the Miami Hurricanes when I was a kid, or even last year, was an example where Mac Jones and Devontae Smith both win, and it's like,
well, it's the best players on the best teams.
But how do you pick who's
because one success comes from the other.
I don't, I'll put it to you like this.
Okay.
I think there are 4 teams in the SEC. That there are 4 legitimate dynamite teams. Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Arkansas. And I don't know how you rank them.
You love Arkansas.
I think Arkansas is going to get blown out this week against Georgia. But I do love Arkansas because I don't think people remember how recently Arkansas was terrible. And they were terrible.
Well, in 2020, I picked them as my one team in the SEC to not win a single game because that's how bad they were.
And that's how far they've come. Now, again, I think they're going to get blown out by Georgia on Saturday, but those are the 4 teams right now. And I think that however it shakes out between them, your Heisman winner probably comes from there, or it comes from whoever just lights up the stats to a point that you're like, wow. Because the kids out in the Pac-12, they don't get enough eyeballs on them to be able to probably win the Heisman. The Big 12's a mess this year. The ACC's the worst Power 5 conference I've ever seen. Since it went from 6 to 5 when they got rid of the Big East, this is the worst Power 5 conference I've ever seen. What the ACC is.
It's bad.
So forget about them. It's never going to be a group of 5 kid unless, somebody goes out and has 2,000 receiving yards.
And that's my thing with Desmond Ridder and also with Cincinnati getting into the college football playoff.
Cincinnati might have a chance to get in the playoff because this
year. It just feels like a stretch. But yes, if there is a year, it's going to be this year because you're probably not going to see Clemson or another ACC representative.
I'd throw one other person in this mix. Cone from Notre Dame. Because Notre Dame's going to be on TV a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame's undefeated. I don't know what Notre Dame's schedule's like the rest of the way. I'm not much of a Notre Dame guy. But the ACC's probably not getting a team. And I'd be surprised if the Pac-12 or Big Ten doesn't lose a spot. And I think Notre Dame could get back into playoff. And Jack Cohn, I thought Jack Cohn played great Saturday against Wisconsin.
Oh, Notre Dame smacked Wisconsin. I picked Wisconsin to win that game.
So if Notre Dame is really, really good, I could see, if you can't differentiate any of these SEC quarterbacks and Jack Cohn does, I could see Jack Cohn getting the nod. But I still think it's really, really early. What's next?
Another little betting tidbit here. Kyler Murray has emerged as the 2021 NFL MVP favorite. So he jumped ahead of Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady, who were the favorites last week after their losses on Sunday. So Kyler currently stands at plus 700 after week 3. Mahomes, Brady, and Matthew Stafford all sitting at plus 800. But some of the biggest line movements in terms of NFL MVP.
Well, let me guess. Derek Carr?
No.
Some of the biggest movements for week 3.
Mm-hmm.
And it's none of the guys you've already...
Not biggest, but just most notable.
And it's none of the guys you've already mentioned?
One of the guys I mentioned. Stafford went from 900 to 800. Yeah. Josh Allen went from 1,600 to 900. Justin Herbert went from plus 4,000 to plus 1,100 after beating the Chiefs.
So the way they like to give out the MVP is the guy who people aren't expecting.
Mm-hmm.
And so we talked about this before the Arizona game. Could this be Kyler's breakout season? Like it was Lamar Jackson's breakout and was league MVP. Like it was Mahomes' breakout and he was league MVP. And I think
through 3 weeks, it feels like it could be.
I think Herbert's kind of a similar guy, right? Like Herbert's in California and Los Angeles, and the NFL wants these Los Angeles teams to work. Like they want them to be popular. They're not, but they want them to be popular. So they'll be on national TV. He beat the Chiefs. He's the part. The one name after last night that I would not overlook is Dak Prescott. That division is so bad that Dallas should win it. Like, I'm still not convinced Dallas is a good team, but they beat the Chargers.
I don't think they're a bad team.
They beat the Eagles. They're going to beat the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to beat quarterbackless Washington. I'd watch out for Dak in all of this. But no, I mean, it's so early with this stuff. I think right now the 3 favorites for me would be Murray, Stafford, Herbert, because it's all about, excitement and a big name, but that wasn't, what we expect every year like we do Brady, Mahomes, and Rodgers and those guys.
But to your point, I am surprised that Derek Carr isn't in here because while I don't think that he will be NFL MVP and while I do think the Raiders will eventually kind of drop off a little bit, they're on a heater and they feel like they're America's favorite team right now.
Gosh,
I mean, people are eating the Raiders up.
I think the Raiders are the poster child for be careful of September football.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think everybody is careful enough with Denver. Like, have you seen the record of Denver's opponents?
I have not.
0-9. So I think everybody is pretty cautious with the Broncos before we get on the train and say, Vic Fangio, Coach of the Year, Bridgewater, comeback player. Like, it's a little early.
I'm not counting Teddy Bridgewater out as comeback player of the year.
But I think we need to pump the brakes on the Raiders for a little bit because the Raiders barely beat Baltimore, barely beat Miami in both games in overtime, and I know that the league is all made up of these close games that you win at the end, and I get that. But it's a nice start for Gruden and the Raiders. History tells me Derek Carr's not one of the best quarterbacks in the league. History tells me Gruden's not one of the best coaches in the league, and the Raiders have drafted so poorly over the last handful of years. Ultimately, when you've got to play the Chargers twice, you've got to play the Chiefs twice, feel like it'll catch up to you. What's next?
So last week I mentioned that Josh Gordon, after being suspended indefinitely for the 6th time from the NFL for violating the league's substance abuse policy, he applied to be reinstated by the league on Friday. It was announced that he had been reinstated. He passed all of his random drug tests after he applied for the reinstatement. So he's officially reinstated into the NFL, and he will sign with the Kansas City Chiefs. He'll be added to their practice squad and elevated to the active roster after conditioning, after getting a solid understanding of the playbook. But, yeah, Josh Gordon going to the Chiefs.
You know, I mean, weed's legal in enough places now where, like, I think and now they got, like, now there are places here, and I don't know if Quration Cbd that sponsors the Midday Show, I don't know if they do this or not. I have no idea. But if they do, then go see them. But I found out that apparently, and I'm not like I'm not one of these guys that's like, wearing like the puff pass T-shirts.
If you'd like to wear that, you're more than welcome.
Pass, but
puff pass.
Puff pass.
Heyo.
But like now you can buy, like there's some bill that was passed, so you can buy like weed in like grains, and if there's a more grain to weed, then you can do it. And like the NFL, I don't even think they test for it anymore. So like,
and I want to say Massachusetts, you can buy weed legally as long as it's a gift for someone. Like you can't buy it for yourself, but you can gift it. It's the stupidest thing in the world, but it's some sort of loophole that they were able to get past. That it's not just CBD, it's weed. It's legal marijuana, but you just have to gift it to someone.
Knock yourself out. Somebody told me that I was in Arizona with one of my friends, and my friend in Arizona, loves it.
Yeah.
And they told me that when they go to the stores that you can buy this stuff at, that there's like the medical side and then the non-medical side, and there's two separate checkout lines, but that it's all the same.
Like all the same stuff?
Yeah, so that when she goes in, it's like hooked around the door for the non-medical side, and there's like one person in line on the medical side.
I wonder why.
So all these rules,
guess like if you need it like medicinally, you're able to circumvent all the people that are just coming in to smoke. I don't know.
I think all this stuff is
it's so many stupid rules. Just make it legal.
Like I think gambling, like that was a no-no for forever, and now everybody does it.
Now there are ads everywhere. Now we have the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans.
But is it like is any of it bad? Like, has anybody had like an ad, whatever?
If anyone's life is significantly worse because sports betting is legal or because weed is
Gordon's
basically
in the
legal,
NFL,
yeah, because Josh Gordon, I'm sure Josh Gordon's life is significantly better if weed is legal.
Those are headlines with Caroline, presented by Fiero Tequila. Fiero Tequila, the world's spiciest infused tequila on the market because the world belongs to the brave. Coming up next, I do have a man crush on Sam Pittman at Arkansas. But is there something telling about the way in which he has turned that program around that maybe makes us feel a little differently about some of the teams that we have been waiting to get turned around? We'll do that next. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Hang out with us every weekday starting at 6 a.m. with Robbie and Rexroad.
I really am. You gotta be. I mean, I just totally am. You've gotta be.
Darren, Donick, and Chase from 10 to 2.
Good participation.
We have a system now, thank goodness.
I had a funny moment happen.
And Stillman and Company from 2 to 6.
I have a story.
Get a cupcake.
Watch live on Periscope, Twitch, and YouTube. Tune in anytime on the Game Nashville app or your home speaker. This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Looking for an easy and fast way to start investing in Bitcoin? CoinFlip ATMs will flip your cash into crypto within minutes. Visit coinflip.tech to find your local ATM.
Fiero Tequila Habanero is for those who enjoy the flavor of spice, naturally infused with fresh, vine-ripened peppers from farmers in the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. Fiero Tequila Habanero is unapologetically the spiciest infused tequila available in the U.S. The hand-picked habaneros provide a delicious kick to the smooth Blanco tequila. It's a flavor punch that's perfect as a shot or a spicy way to spice up your hard seltzer, or perfect for a fiery cocktail. Available at fine liquor stores and your favorite drinking establishments. Fiero Tequila, the world belongs to the brave.
Football is back, and Electronic Express has what you need to make the game bigger than ever. Bring the stadium to you with the best in-home entertainment from Samsung, LG, Sony, Hisense, TCL, and more. Watching the game on the go? Save big on laptops, tablets, and headphones. Plus, we have all your appliance needs up to 50% off, and get up to 36 months free financing. We've got you covered this football season at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Signs First is the official sign company for 102.5 The Game. Go to sfnash.com.
Hey, what's going on? It's Chase McKay. Bet on more than the final score during football season with one-game parlay at BetMGM. One Game Parlay is an exciting feature designed to help you make selections within a single game from over 400 bet types, including my favorite, team and player props. Log into your BetMGM account and create your best parlay before the game starts. One Game Parlay is the fast and easy way to combine your same-game win, total, and prop picks. New to BetMGM? Sign up today and make your first bet risk-free up to $1,000 with the bonus code 1025GAME. You can place One Game Parlay bets on pro and college football, baseball, soccer, and more. Go ahead and take your favorite player to score, the home team to cover, and the over in touchdowns. Log in today or download the BetMGM app to try One Game Parlay. New customer offer, paid and free bets. You must be 21 years or older, must be in Tennessee. Visit BetMGM.com for a full list of terms and conditions. For problem gambling support, call the Tennessee Red Line at 800-889-9789.
The Titans head up to the Big Apple this weekend to take on the New York Jets Sunday at noon. Join us for a fun pregame show and watch party at the Corner Pub's Brentwood location at Old Hickory Boulevard. 102.5's NFL pregame show will be there live starting at 9:30 a.m. And the show features Jared Stillman, former Titans receiver Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard. 102.5's NFL pregame show is brought to you in part by E2 Roofing, Social Furniture, TriStar Moving, and Screwball Whiskey.
Interact with Stillman and Company. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Stillman and Company, Trevor Maddich, ESPN college football analyst in 10 minutes. So I have a man crush on Sam Pittman. I love Sam Pittman.
Do whatever you like.
And here's why I love Sam Pittman at Arkansas so much. They were so bad. I remember 2 years ago being at SEC Media Days and like walking through the different rooms and whatever. And I remember walking into a room and there was an Arkansas player that had like a Chucky doll on like his backpack, and it was like motivation for him. Or I don't know.
Whatever works for you.
But this was when Chad Morris was the coach, and they were so bad. And it was like, yeah, we feel like last year's 2-10 team, that it just got away from us, and we just feel like this year's team is going to be. And Chad Morris was gone. I mean, they lost to Western Kentucky, and they lost to some other, crap bum state, and he was gone. And they go hire Sam Pittman, who I didn't know much about, offensive line coach at Georgia. Guy gets the job, and honestly, I figured like it was everybody else who'd have the job at Arkansas. They'd be there for a couple years, and then they wouldn't be anymore. John L. Smith was that way. Brett Bielema was that way. Bobby Petrino, for other reasons, was that way. Houston Nutt was that way. Like, I just beat Arkansas.
Chad
okay,
Morris was that
see
way.
Ya. He didn't make it a couple years. But, yes, I know what you're saying. And Sam Pittman has turned Arkansas into a top 10 program. Now, I think they're going to lose this week to Georgia. But the fact that the Arkansas-Georgia game is must-watch TV this week, I think is kind of eye-opening. And Sam Pittman didn't wait for his players to get in here. He's using a combination of Brett Bielema and Chad Morris as players. And I can tell you this, Chad Morris is not a good recruiter. Or at least was not at Arkansas.
It's incredibly difficult to recruit at Arkansas as well.
It is, but I don't, they have the facilities and the money. It's not Vanderbilt. They have the facilities at Arkansas. They pay for a top-level SEC program. There's just no kids there. There's kids in Louisiana, there's kids in Georgia, there's kids in Florida, there's kids in Texas, and, where's Arkansas getting kids from? But they've already beat Texas, and they beat Texas A&M. And so I wonder this. When it comes to Josh Heupel and us expecting better results, we're told we got to wait. He's got to get his players in. We got to wait. We got to give him time. It's going to take time. Clark Lee at Vanderbilt, they just lost $5 billion to nothing to Georgia. It was 35-0 within the first 8 minutes. And I like Clark Lee. I do. Now, I like Clark Lee, the guy. I was never sold. I hoped he could do it. And I don't know if he can or can't. But I even told Clark, I'm like, dude, this is going to be a hard job now. And I love him, but still. But 69-0. Do we need to give these guys all this time? Pruitt needed time. You know who didn't need time? Dan Mullen didn't need time at Florida. James Franklin didn't need time at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt was 2-10 with Robbie Caldwell as the coach. James Franklin with Bobby Johnson's players goes in there, and they're 6-6 the first year in a bowl game. They're 8-4 the second year. They're 9-4 the third year. So James Franklin didn't need time. Nick Saban had one bad year at Alabama, and they were competing for the national title in year 2. Urban Meyer won the national title at Florida in year 2.
Okay, and what is Nick Saban?
He's
the greatest college football coach of all time.
What's Sam Pittman?
Okay, yes. But
What's
I'm saying,
James Franklin?
I don't think that they're the best football coaches of all time. But you named Dan Mullen, who did not inherit that much of a mess at Florida. I mean, I think that
McElwain,
Sam Pittman inherited much bigger of a mess than Dan Mullen did.
Oh, I mean,
I think Josh Heupel inherited a bigger mess.
I argue that what Sam Pittman is doing at Arkansas is more impressive. You can argue it. I'm not arguing it, but I think you can argue what Sam Pittman inherited at Arkansas and what he's turned them into today is as impressive, if not more impressive, than what Nick Saban inherited at Alabama and what he turned them into by year 2.
I don't think it's more impressive. I think it's incredibly impressive what he's been able to do. But there's such a small group of college football coaches that have been able to do that. And it's incredibly impressive. And I think that they deserve credit for that.
Like Dabo didn't do that.
No, Dabo didn't do that.
Ryan Day didn't do that.
So to expect Josh Heupel and Clark Lee to do the same thing, I don't think is fair. When you're saying Nick Saban did it at Alabama, and now he is the most winningest coach in college football history. Sam Pittman has done it at Arkansas, which has been incredible because Arkansas was nothing short of a complete disaster.
It was awful.
Fewer than 2 years ago. And
started his career during the
one of the most difficult
starts his career,
season
and 2 months later, it's
in college
COVID.
football. Yeah, exactly.
2 months later, everybody go home. Everybody stay home. Everybody shut everything down.
And James Franklin was able to do it at Vanderbilt. Granted, 8-4 seasons, which at Vanderbilt you could say is
like winning a national title.
Miraculous. So, yeah, there's such a small group of college football coaches that have been able to make such a 180 turn like Sam Pittman has done. You know, Nick Saban turning Alabama into a dynasty, a powerhouse, incredibly impressive. Sam Pittman being able to take Arkansas out of the dumps and turn it into a team that now plays Georgia, and College Game Day is going there.
I mean, Hugh Freeze did that, but they cheated. I guess he did that too, but again, he broke the rule.
There are very few coaches that have been able to make such a 180 turn so quickly. So to say that Josh Heupel and Clark Lee are on the same clock as Sam Pittman, I don't think is necessarily fair.
See, here's what I don't like, though, is that 2 separate times I've put really high demands on the Tennessee football coach, and each time you're like, well, that's not fair. I'm telling them they've got to go get the next Peyton Manning. They have to get that franchise Heisman caliber quarterback. And you're like, well, that's not fair. And I'm
not saying it's not fair. It's incredibly difficult, and it's easy for you to say, go find the best quarterback in college football. But
if you want Mark Stoops results, then you can do things the Mark Stoops way, where it took years at Kentucky to build, and Kentucky's fine. But they've never, I don't think Kentucky has ever, gotten to a point to where we were considering them a legitimate, competitor to these teams in the SEC. And that's where you want Josh Heupel to be if you're a Tennessee fan. And that's where, like Clark Lee, I know that, look, he's got somebody else's players, but he shouldn't be losing 69-0. I don't care. You should not lose that game. I didn't even watch it. I did like their uniforms, though. I flipped over, and I like the Vandy uniforms. But, I'm just saying that we keep telling you, give Coach time, give Coach time, give Coach time. No one said give Arkansas time. They were winning last year. And I think there's no doubt. Sam Pittman, they're going to get blown out, I think, this week by Georgia. I think Georgia are going to kill them.
I don't know if they're going to get blown out.
Especially if the quarterback's hurt.
That's true.
But, if the quarterback wasn't hurt, they'd have smoked A&M. That'd have been 43-14 if the Jefferson kid didn't get hurt. Arkansas is impressive. And I just think, okay. The other thing, too, about this, think about all the coaching hires over the years where it's like, God, that guy's a terrible coach. He's awful. Or we love this coach that we hired. Heard everybody talk about Scott Frost at Nebraska. I didn't hear anybody talking about Sam Pittman at Arkansas.
They were ready to put up a statue of Scott Frost before he even coached it down.
I didn't even hear about that. Joe Rexroad talked about Nick Saban when he covered him at Michigan State, took the LSU job. Was like, he's going to LSU? Worked out pretty well. 615-737-1025. Trevor Maddich, ESPN college football analyst, joins us next. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 1025 The Game, and as always, we're streaming on the Game Nashville app.
Titans, Jets, It's time to take care of business in the Big Apple. Tune in Sunday at 9:30 for NFL pregame with Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard. Live from Corner Pub in Brentwood. We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's soccer season in Tennessee. You want goals?
He takes it inside, outside, right foot. Great finish! What a goal!
You want saves?
Lifted high, into the hands of Joe Willis. He makes the catch.
You want big drama?
Hooked in and headed in. Delirium! It's Yonder Cadiz!
Nashville SC are back at home Wednesday, September 29th versus Orlando City SC. The action kicks off at 7:30 p.m. Tickets on sale now at NashvilleSC.com.
How'd you like that?
In the concert event of a lifetime, come experience the dynamic energy of one of the most accomplished musicians of our time, Carlos Santana. Blessings and Miracles Tour 2021. This Wednesday, First Bank Amphitheater. Take a trip through the hits from Woodstock to Supernatural and a backwards flip into the unknown. Tickets on sale now at LiveNation.com.
More machines, more savings, and more muscle. Only with John Deere construction equipment from Meade Tractor. Hit the heavy jobs harder with our Own It offer and get special financing on select models. New, used, or rent, we have the right equipment and technology solution for you with the affordable financing you need. Contact us today at our Nashville location or go online at MeadeTractor.com.
Offer valid on qualified purchases and new equipment made between now through October 31st, 2021. Subject to approved installment credit with John Deere Financial for commercial use only. Down payment may be required. Some restrictions apply. See store for details.
The C10 Nationals are here. Friday, October 1st and Saturday, October 2nd at Nashville Superspeedway. The C10 Nationals, one of the largest GM truck shows in the world. Don't miss the autocross, the burnout contest, the dyno, along with vendor midway swap meet, cruise the track, and more. Cap it all off with a huge award ceremony. Spectator tickets are just $20 per day. Trucks can register at the gate day of the event. Visit C10Nationals.com. That's C10Nationals.com for more information.
Rock Bottom Nashville is Broadway's original brewery, where all brews are brewed on site. Josh Rappaport is Rock Bottom's brewmaster, creating fresh craft beers where peak flavors are always the rule. Grab one of their blockbuster beers to pair with their nachos, pretzel bites, and delicious flatbreads. They even have group catering. They boast one of the best views of downtown Nashville and is a short walk to Titan Stadium. And enjoy happy hour Monday through Friday afternoons from 2 until 6. Rock Bottom Nashville, 111 Broadway.
Hey, Darren McFarland here, and let me tell you about my friends at Quration Cbd. If you're like me and have aches and pains all over your body and you've been searching for a solution, well, I've got it. It's Quration Cbd. Quration means healing, and that right there says it all. Quration is locally and organically sourced CBD products right here from Middle Tennessee. From seed to final sell, Quration is passionate about providing quality products for everyday use for athletes and for pets, too. Order yours now at QurationCompany.com. Quration CBD, curated for life.
Here they come, turn 4.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe. Every Saturday morning at 9, we hit the big topics. The Ally 400, Kyle Busch, frustrated, Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, and talk to the big names.
I'll go ahead and blame you.
Oh, I think it's big.
Could go a lot of different directions right now.
I was so impressed.
How cool that's going to be.
It's Chasing Checkers, Saturday morning at 9 on ESPN 1025 The Game and wherever you get your podcast.
What's happening in Nashville? This is Scott Van Pelt. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 1025 The Game.
Stillman and Company, we are delivered by TriStar Moving. A wild weekend in college football, whether it was Notre Dame smoking Wisconsin, Arkansas giving the business at times to Texas A&M in Jerry World, Tennessee putting up a fight for a half against Florida, Georgia winning 69-0. The ACC is a mess. And it is just crazy. And Trevor Maddich joins us, ESPN college football analyst. As always, Trevor, brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Trevor, I got like 18 different places I want to start with you. But I want to start with my new man crush, Sam Pittman at Arkansas. And we were just talking about the fact that 2 years ago, Arkansas was an embarrassment under Chad Morris. They were losing to Western Kentucky. They were losing to, 1AA schools. And all of a sudden, they're in the top 10. They had a good year last year, really a great year for them. And now they beat Texas A&M, big one with Georgia this week. But my question is, in the you got to give coaches time. We got to get my players in here. I've got the old guys' players. How has Sam Pittman done it at Arkansas when things were so bad before he got there?
Love and belief. Literally those two things. The team, Arkansas, actually sent a letter to the athletic director saying that they wanted Pittman to come back and be their head coach. And to his credit, the athletic director took that to heart. And when Pittman got there, he proved why. I mean, what they had to do immediately in order to be successful was two things. They had to have everybody buy in and grind and grind and grind to be as good as they could possibly be. And have no prima donnas, no laziness, everybody laser focused on the goal. And then they had to develop players. I mean, the coaches had to develop guys into better football players than they were before Pittman got there. He did both of those things. And unfortunately, he got there with an offensive line that was big and powerful enough to be able to develop into what he wanted them to be. Defensive front became tough as well when you're a line of scrimmage focused team. If one side of the line is great, the other side had better pick up the pace or they'll get smashed in practice. And so iron sharpened iron there, and they got better at the line of scrimmage. And KJ Jefferson, a quarterback, has done a fantastic job. But it's all because of Pittman. It's the effect that he has on the players, the way he got the players to believe, to buy in, and then to reciprocate the love that he has for them because he loves those guys, as a matter of fact, when he loves those guys. And so that's how you get it done. It's the same way that Indiana got it done as well with their head coach, the same kind of culture that had a program that was struggling for many, many years rise up and be a lot better than people thought. It wasn't the addition of new players. It was the way the players loved their coach. And that in turn meant they loved each other, and that in turn meant that they worked harder than they ever would have worked.
As far as impressiveness in the SEC, I think there have been three coaches that have, inherited a mess and turned it around immediately. I think Pittman is one of them. I think Nick Saban taking over Alabama and having them competing for a title 2 years later and winning one 3 years later is up there. And I think James Franklin taking over a 2-10 Robbie Caldwell Vanderbilt team and turning them into 6-6 and then 2 years of 8-4. I think those are the three most impressive quick turnarounds in the SEC in the last 20 years. My question for you is this Arkansas turnaround sustainable, and are we looking at a true top 10 team?
If KJ Jefferson at quarterback stays healthy, he limped off the field against Texas A&M, but if he's healthy enough to be a real threat in the running game, then yes, this is a legitimate top 10 team, partly because they're really good. And beyond being good, they're a really tough out. It's hard to beat them. They play clean. They don't turn it over a lot. They don't have tons of penalties. You have to actually go out and beat them, and then when you go to hit a guy in an Arkansas helmet, it's going to hurt, right? So you start with that. And the rest of it is that, my goodness, the rest of the top echelon of college football, for the most part, seems to have all kinds of issues. So whether or not you think that Arkansas would have been a top 10 team last year, the year before that with this team is not the question. It's, are they one of the 10 best teams today in college football? And given problems that teams like Clemson and Ohio State have had, I say absolutely they're legitimate if KJ Jefferson can be all of KJ Jefferson.
Mm-hmm. Trevor Matichar, guest brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Trev, Tennessee goes on the road to Florida. I thought they fought hard for a half. I had two takeaways about Josh Heupel after the game. One, he's going to scheme up guys getting open, and I mean getting open for touchdowns. And sometimes they hit the throw, sometimes they don't hit the throw. Very impressed with the way that he's going to be able to get guys open when he gets better players in there. But 85 penalty yards for Tennessee. They had a punt return where both players wearing number 1 ran off the field and had 9 players. And Florida, punting from their own 20, ended up getting a touchback out of it. And just little discipline issues. Plus, Heupel's clock management, very questionable at the end of the half. And sometimes I worry about these offensive coaches managing play calling and running the game. So I saw some things that I like and some things I don't like about Heupel in the game Saturday. What did you take away? And are those long-term things that we should be thinking about with Josh Heupel?
Everything that you said was fair. Everything. The other side of it is that he had an awful lot to think about, didn't he? Mm-hmm. He's got his backup quarterback in there. He's playing against a team that just took Alabama to the ever-loving end of the wire, right? And he has to have his team playing perfectly, and he's watching them not execute. And so, there's a lot in his mind right now. At the same time, you're right about the clock management. You're right about the special teams gap, things like that. But I think the first thing you said is what actually is the most important thing, and that is that they are scheming to get guys open, and they're not even going at the fast pace that he really wants to go. Both quarterbacks, Hooker and Milton, have been fast kind of at some times, but other times they haven't been able to be as fast as he wants them to run the operation. Even so, you've got Tennessee Volunteers running wide open, 10, 15, and more yards down the field, especially the more. And Hooker hit Peyton on that beautiful 75-yard touchdown pass along the right sideline. For those who didn't see it, Peyton was open. He was left sideline. I'm sorry. He was wide open, but at the same time, that ball was thrown high in the air and dropped right down in perfect stride. Peyton just caught it and kept on going. If they had more of those, they would have beat Pitt. If they had more of those, they would have given more of a game in the second half to Florida. And the coaches schemed to make that happen. The receivers are doing their job to get open. But too often on plays like that 75-yard touchdown, you would see Peyton running wide open, and the ball would sail 5 yards, 10 yards over his head, right? And you just didn't get it completed. Now, in fairness to the quarterbacks, in the second half, you also had a whole bunch of drops. So, on the one hand, you look at the results. Okay, they lost those 2 games, and they had a chance. But it's that chance that I think people need to hang their hat on, because Tennessee is coming off of a pretty long stretch of a whole lot of misery, and now all of a sudden they're seeing that they are a mid to deep passing connection with more consistency away from being able to compete with most teams that they're going to play. And that just means the quarterbacks need to hit it and the receivers need to catch it. Well, that's pretty close. And so I think of all the problems that you can point to that are real, we have pointed to problems with the Volunteers in the past and have not had a glimpse of a brighter future. And right now, Tennessee fans see that glimpse, so they just have to connect on those deeper passes like they did on that long one, Hooker to Peyton.
Trevor, Clemson loses to NC State. They looked awful. Especially offensively, trying to move the football. DJ Uiagalelei, it looked a lot like the Georgia game, but they weren't playing Georgia. They were playing NC State. How concerned should Clemson fans be who thought that this dynasty was never going to end?
They should be incredibly concerned, because the dynasty you're talking about is make the playoffs and occasionally win the national championship, right? Well, the dynasty of winning the ACC is in jeopardy as well. It's very possible, not probable yet, but very possible that Clemson will not win their own conference this year because the offense just can't bust the grape, and they've got injuries now on defense that are a problem. They already lost one stud defensive tackle in Brian Brzee, another stud defensive tackle we just found out is out for the year. He was the ACC rookie defensive rookie of the year last year as a true freshman. Brzee was. He's gone now. Skalski, their leader at middle linebacker, is banged up. And so, the defense might not be as much of a brick wall as it was against Georgia when they held the Bulldogs without an offensive touchdown in the opener, right? But the real problem is really hard to fix, Jared, because it's not that quarterback DJ Uiagalelei is not in a rhythm. He's not. But that could be more fixable. You can take a young quarterback and build his confidence and give him plays that he can hit and run the ball well and start to get some rhythm. The problem is Clemson is unable to generate any offensive rhythm at all because their offensive line couldn't block me and you. Their offensive line has been performing as badly as any offensive line of a ranked team that I've ever seen. And so DJ Uiagalelei has got no time to throw. And when he does, he hears footsteps, and I don't blame him, because sometimes he'll drop back to pass, and there's a defensive pass rusher back there about as fast as he is. Other times he'll have plenty of time. But he's rattled because of that, and so far he doesn't have the poise that Bryce Young has shown, although Bryce Young has a better running game and a better offensive line. But Bryce Young has also shown under pressure that he has a lot of poise. Uiagalelei has shown that under pressure, it feels like watching him, he's thinking, uh-oh, here we go again, what do I do? And so that's a problem, but it starts with the offensive line. And it's not just the passing game. I was watching them on tape this week, looking for breakdowns for this week for Georgia, actually. And there were plenty of times when in the Georgia game, there were Bulldog defensive linemen so deep in the backfield on a running play that the running back would take the handoff and immediately get hit by a D lineman that was as deep as the running back was. And so this problem with the offensive line has to be solved before we can expect a whole lot more to go on. Now, what do? Because you're the quarterback, you're the offensive coordinator. Now you've got an issue that you know about. You still have to call plays. You still have to go out and try to win games. So what you need to do is throw the ball a lot more to the running backs, run a lot more pick plays, just a lot more of the kind of play that'll get a guy open quickly and try to bypass the offensive line. That's all you can do. And right now they're not doing that well either.
Trevor Maddich with us. Trevor, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. I want to get Trevor's thoughts on Notre Dame because I thought they were very impressive Saturday, and they got a big one against Cincinnati. So I want Trevor's thoughts on that. I want Trevor's thoughts on Alabama, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Georgia, and we will do that plus the 4 teams in the playoff because I think it's going to be wide open. We'll get Trevor's thoughts on that coming up next. Stillman & Company, delivered by TriStar Moving. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Another warm afternoon turning into a comfortable night as temperatures drop back into the low 60s with partly cloudy skies. Can't rule out a bit of patchy fog once again for early Wednesday morning. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Now at Lowe's, order any flooring like Stainmaster Pet Protect Carpet starting at $185 per square foot. See in-store associate or product detail page for warranty information.
Let me tell you, the most expensive mistake a homebuyer can make is not shopping for the best mortgage. Hey, I'm Roger Moore, founder and CEO of Loan Pronto. It's a fact. Homebuyers who choose Loan Pronto save an average of $3,500. That is a ton of money for furniture or moving expenses. How do we do it? First, we don't charge our clients thousands in junk lender fees and closing costs, and our all-digital platform streamlines the process so you close faster and easier. Realtors love working with us, and we will work with your existing realtor, but don't make a decision about the loan until you call us. Listen, not all mortgages are created equal, and it pays to get a second opinion. Even if you've already started the process, we promise to beat your current offer or we will pay you $1,000 for your time. So check us out at loanpronto.com or call us today at 615-499-5780. Lower rates, lower costs, and a stress-free experience. Again, loanpronto.com or call us at 615-499-5780.
Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval. Not all loans apply.
Lately, we've been getting a lot of calls and questions about acoustic wave therapy for the treatment of erectile dysfunction. This is a relatively new treatment for ED, but one we've been using for years. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and if you're looking at acoustic wave therapy or any option to help your ED, it's worth a visit to check us out. Our wave therapy protocols use acoustic wave technology, but often also combine it with other treatments that can give most of our patients far higher satisfaction rates. There is no surgery nor any type of invasive procedures required, and while most clinics you hear about only offer sound wave treatments, with our urologist and provider's guidance, you can likely have sex the day after your appointment and experience fewer letdowns. With another one of our ED treatments, you can last up to an hour and a half, and our expertise in treating these issues means you'll get the results you want. So make your appointment today. We'll show you why our acoustic wave program is the better way to do wave therapy. Call us today at 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments extra. Results vary.
Contest rules for 102.5 The Game and ESPN 94.9, including on-air, online, and text-based contests, are available by visiting the contest rules page at thegamenashville.com. Good luck and thanks for listening to 102.5 The Game and ESPN 94.9.
Darren McFarland.
And a mulligan that we all look for in golf. Lord knows our game could use it.
Willie Donick.
Outworked and outperformed a lot of other really good players.
Chase McCabe.
I want some sort of trade protection.
Darren, Donick, and Chase have you covered weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Quration Cbd on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is Stillman & Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving.
Trevor Maddich is with us, ESPN college football analyst. Trevor is presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics. When experience matters, Trev, big weekend of college football. And I know that people love to go on television and say things like, it's going to be a big weekend of college football. Check out our slate. And most of the time I'm looking and I'm like, yeah. Like last week, the ABC game of the week No disrespect to ABC. We love ABC. But the ABC game of the week was West Virginia, Oklahoma. No, thank you. This week, we've got Alabama, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Georgia, Notre Dame, Cincinnati. I mean, we've got a slate of games. Even Florida, Kentucky, I think is, an interesting game, whatever. So, Trevor, I want to start with this. I watched Notre Dame play Wisconsin on Saturday. I was very impressed with Notre Dame. Now, I think that watching Big Ten football and watching Notre Dame is like watching paint dry, but I think Notre Dame's got a quarterback. I love this Jack Cohn kid that they have, and they play, I think they're better than they were last year, and they made the playoff last year. And I look at Cincinnati, and I watched them play Indiana earlier this year, and they because I know that Clemson's not a top 10 team, and Oklahoma doesn't look great, and Ohio State doesn't look great. And I mean, Cincinnati, maybe they are a college football playoff caliber team. Let's start with that game. What do you think, and how big is that game as far as the playoff could be concerned?
It is enormous as far as the playoffs are concerned. The Notre Dame schedule is not looking as tough as it did originally. And, Wisconsin is a team that has struggled and has looked really bad, especially on offense with quarterback Graham Mertz. And then USC, just lost to Oregon State, right? Mm-hmm. Stanford is an up-and-down team. So Notre Dame has to be undefeated. And for Cincinnati, they were undefeated at the end of last season in the regular season and lost a tight one to Georgia in the bowl game. But even though they were undefeated, they didn't make it into the top four. This year, with the win over Indiana and with a potential win at Notre Dame, that might be enough to get Cincinnati into the top four, especially because of the chaos we're seeing up at the top. And so this is enormous for both teams. And it's a really interesting matchup because I think a lot of people will look at it and say, well, Notre Dame is going to have more talent. No, actually, no, they don't. They are quite similar teams in a lot of ways. They're really good at running back. They both have good members of the offensive line, but at left tackle especially, they've got some young guys that they're playing, and they're struggling there. They both have solid defenses. Notre Dame's defense has really nothing over Cincinnati's defense except Kyle Hamilton at safety for the Irish. He's irreplaceable. He is phenomenal. But everything else is good. The biggest difference to me in this game from a matchup standpoint is that Notre Dame's quarterback is either going to be Jack Cohn, who's banged up, who's not mobile, and who's been okay as a game manager. But keep in mind that they struggled to beat Florida State, who still hasn't won a game, Toledo at home, MAC team that people aren't picking to win the MAC this year, and then Purdue at home. And so they haven't really blown anybody out with Jack Cohn at quarterback, and now Jack Cohn might not play. And if he doesn't, the backup, Tyler Buckner, might not play. And that's why when he went out of the game against Wisconsin last week, third-string freshman quarterback Drew Pine had to come in. And Pine actually played much, much better than anyone expected, and actually threw a great touchdown pass in that game to help them win. But that's the difference in this game because the quarterback situation for Notre Dame is a mess right now because of injury and youth. The quarterback situation for Cincinnati is a massive advantage for the Bearcats. Desmond Ridder has been around forever. He is a Heisman candidate. He is a terrific running quarterback who has upped his game as a passer, especially downfield from last season to this, which is why he's a Heisman candidate. And you look at that one position, the most important position on the field, and the edge goes decisively to Cincinnati before the game. Now you got to play the game. We'll see what happens. But for Irish fans, if they like to have angst, and there's a lot of reason to have angst because this Cincinnati team coming in has every ability to beat them.
Trev, what do you think of the quarterback matchup, Matt Corral versus Bryce Young, and does Ole Miss have enough on defense to get it done against Alabama?
That's the question. This is going to be one of the best quarterback matchups of the season. And you're right about that. Matt Corral of Ole Miss, people are saying, is the Heisman front runner right now, and he's as good a pick as anybody, although I would really pick Bryce Young to be the Heisman front runner right now. So both of these teams at quarterback are looking solid. The question is, though, the defense of Ole Miss. They've gotten better. They have improved from heinous to decent, to pretty good. I mean, okay, not great, but that's still a big improvement. And the offense is playing lights out. Keep in mind that last year it was a huge high-scoring game. I mean, it was tight in the fourth quarter, until Alabama pulled away. But Ole Miss scored 48 points on them last year. 48 points. And Ole Miss's offense is better this year than it was last year. Alabama's defense has more holes in it this year than they did last year when they played Ole Miss. So this is an interesting game. I think it's going to be very high scoring, but the storylines from this are just huge. I mean, one is to take the torch from Nick Saban. That's always the storyline of the SEC West. But if Lane Kiffin can be that guy, remember Lane Kiffin a few years ago was the offensive coordinator for Alabama in the national championship run.
Sure.
He did something so egregious, and I still don't know exactly what it is, that Nick Saban, who abhors distractions, publicly fired his offensive coordinator, Lane Kiffin, the week before they played in the national championship game, and they ended up losing that game. Nick Saban normally would have just banished Lane Kiffin to an office somewhere and said, look, do your thing, get ready for your next job, which he was doing at Florida Atlantic. It's part of the problem. Don't say a word, and we'll move on without you. Instead, Saban went public with the firing, right? Something happened. And ever since then, Kiffin has been poking Saban with a stick, trolling Nick Saban. It has been tremendous fun. If Kiffin is able to pull this off, the trolling will be delicious. There's so many great storylines.
Trevor Matich with us. I think that Arkansas, and I love Sam Pittman, I think Arkansas gets blown out this weekend against Georgia. I mean, the one thing that we were talking about, the Titans play up and down to their opponents, and usually somebody that plays up and down to their opponents isn't very good. Georgia did not do that on Saturday against Vanderbilt. I have a hard time not thinking that with their defense that they're the best team in the country. What do you think of the Arkansas-Georgia matchup?
No, I agree with you there. I think the defense that Arkansas pushed around last week of Texas A&M was a legitimate defense. I mean, it's one of the best in the country. But this Georgia defense it has a chance to be legendary. I'm watching them on tape too. I mean, today we just set up a breakdown. We had like 3 different breakdowns we could have done on the abject awesomeness of the Georgia defense, the unblockability of the defensive linemen, of the linebackers, of the scheme, that even if you could block them physically, you still have to figure out where they're coming from. This Georgia defense, I use the word legendary. I've never done that before. I've always said this is one of the best defenses in the country. This is the best. It's a brick wall. I've never said it has a chance to be legendary. And, it starts up front with number 99, Jordan Davis. I mean, he's 6'6", 340 pounds, defensive lineman who can run and change direction. And he heads a defensive line that goes about 8 deep of guys that you can't really block after about 4 or 5 deep, you can't block them. And so, Arkansas is going to run into a bit of a brick wall here. But enjoy this Georgia defense because we may not see this kind of a collection of players for a long time in college football.
Mm-hmm. How would you go right now? Committee, give me your 4 teams. I saw you do this on SportsCenter the other day, and I was like, you know what? If he's going to do it on SportsCenter, we got to have him do it on this show. How would you rank your 4 teams right now?
All right, number 4, I've got Oregon. They
beat Ohio
they had a
State.
close call against. What's that?
I said they beat Ohio State.
Yeah, they beat Ohio State, and Tulsa almost beat Ohio State the next week. So what do we know about that? But they almost lost to Fresno State and to Arizona at home. So, but still, Oregon is a very complete team. Kayvon Thibodeau's banged up, so we'll see what happens. He's a big part of the reason that they would be highly ranked. At number 3, I have Alabama. Because they got pushed around on defense by Florida State. They were outrushed, Florida. They were outrushed 245 yards to 91 against the Gators. Now, they pulled out the win, so you have to give them credit for that. But offensive line and the running attack has been good. It hasn't been dominant against the better teams that they've played. The defense has struggled to stop the run against the best running game that they play. And I want to see them do a little bit better in the trenches to move them up, and they will. At number 2, I got Penn State. And it's a real close one with them and Alabama. But Penn State's defense has been lights out in the red zone and opportunistically in critical moments of the game. The passing game is just electric down the field, but their running game needs to get a little bit better too. I've got them just a hair above Alabama, and if Bama wins this week against Ole Miss, I'll move them up. And number 1 is Georgia. Georgia is just right now unassailable by anybody except Alabama if Bama fixes the problems in the trenches.
Trevor Matich, ESPN college football analyst, joining us as always. Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Great weekend ahead. Trevor, we look forward to seeing you on SportsCenter.
Great. Thanks, Jared.
Yep, Trevor Matich joining us on the program. And, I mean, just listening to him talk about those games, sounds like the one he's most fired up for, and I don't want to put words in his mouth. Sounds like it's Cincinnati, Notre Dame.
Trevor loves Cincinnati. He was one team, Cincinnati was one team when I asked him before the season even started, what is a team that people are going to overlook? What is maybe a team that people may look at you funny, but you feel good about maybe making it into the top 4? Cincinnati. He is so high on Cincinnati. But I do think that it'll be a very interesting game because that is the only way, in my opinion, Cincinnati can make it into the college football playoff is if they beat Notre Dame and they beat them handedly.
Sure, and then they need, teams they need the ACC to be bad. They need the Big Ten to be bad.
But that's kind of working in their favor.
Sure, oh, sure.
But like the one isolated incident that could be the difference between Cincinnati making it to the college football playoff and not is that Notre Dame game.
So I said earlier today that I think the Titans, that I think that their defense is better than it was last. I think everybody thinks their defense is better than it was last year. But this time last year, I kind of knew that the Titans' defense was a mess. And I even said, I know they're 3-0 guys, but I'm not sure that they're very good. This year, I feel like the defense is much better. But it's the offense that is making the mistakes. And we were told it was going to be an elite offense. Do we still believe that that's what the Titans' offense will be? We discuss next. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game. And, of course, we're streaming on the Game Nashville app. Let me tell you about Light the Night. That's right. Light the Night is coming, and we want you to be a part of it. And I cannot find the read wherever it went. It went somewhere.
It will be a very, very cool event, though.
And it'll be virtually. Hold on. I got it. Hold on. Keep talking for a second.
It'll be a very cool event and very worthy cause. If you're free, if you're able, if you're willing.
Go. Join us in partnering with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's Light the Night. Light the Night brings light to the darkness of cancer through hope, research, and support for patients and families. Through this inspirational nationwide movement, we raise awareness and funding for groundbreaking research treatment options to eliminate cancer. Nashville's Light the Night will be virtual and take place on November 4th. Learn more at lightthenight.org/TN. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
October 14th.
Toward the net, the back end of the score! Predators break out in front!
The Nashville Predators' regular season begins when they host the Seattle Kraken.
And the Predators win it overtime!
And your only home for every moment of the action is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
If you snore, it may be a sign of a more serious, possibly life-threatening condition. Most people think of snoring as a nuisance, but it's a much more serious medical condition than you think. Snoring has been associated with chest pain, sleep apnea, high blood pressure, chronic pain, obesity, headaches, and sore throat. Take a listen to what some of our patients are saying about the revolutionary Vivo system.
Right after I started using it, I noticed the results really, especially with the snoring. My sleep apnea episodes are a fraction of what they were before. This product's phenomenal. It changed my life.
I am 100% happy that I did this, and I'm thankful every day that I have it.
If you're curious about our sleep devices, call now for a sleep consultation. Don't let your spouse have to sleep in the guest room, and don't risk the severe health complications of snoring and sleep apnea.
Dr. Kelly Rice is certified to provide the Vivo system to open the airway for a better night's sleep. Call 615-373-4488 or go to BrentwoodSleepApnea.com now to see which therapy can work best for you.
Individual results may vary. Always seek the advice of your health provider with any questions regarding a medical condition.
Now's the time to get a great deal on select Kubota compact tractors. Rated #1 for reliability in the under 100 horsepower category, they're designed for easy operation and feature performance-matched attachments. Right now, put 0 down and get 0% APR for 84 months, plus save up to $1,400. Now through December 31st. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Richard Mosqueda spent 3 months shopping for a diamond and ended up buying one from a New York company online.
I looked online forever. I looked everywhere, and I finally found a great deal.
Well, he thought it was a great deal until he took the stone over to Genesis Diamonds to compare it with a Genesis stone.
And then I brought it here, and they gave me a better price and a better quality. The quality was so much better, and the price was so much better, you couldn't beat their price here.
So Richard boxed up the online diamond, got his money back, and bought the Genesis diamond. Not only did he get a better deal and a better diamond, he got lifetime service at no charge.
To me, there's a value to having a local place that says that we'll take care of everything. We'll clean your ring, we'll size it, and online you can't do that. And on top of that, they had to get the guarantees here and the warranties here were unbelievable.
Genesis Diamonds, where Nashville gets engaged.
Genesis is the best. They'll work with you, the customer service is unbelievable, and you can't beat the price.
Voted year after year as the best place in Nashville to buy an engagement ring. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
You don't need to go anywhere else, just go to Genesis.
Genesis Diamonds.
The Game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Be a part of the conversation by calling or texting us at 615-737-1025.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT-FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne. Online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving. ESPN 102.5 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Titans getting ready for what should be 2 layups against the Jets and the Jags.
Don't say that too loud.
Well, I'm not. I mean, I'm scared to death of the Jets game. Now, I'm not going to start talking about the Jets today.
It sounds silly.
Oh, I'm scared. I'm scared. Coming into the season, we thought the Tennessee Titans on defense, we were just hoping and praying and holding hands and saying, Lord, please be with the Titans defense. Please not be as bad as they were last year on third downs. Please not be 28th in the league like they were a year ago. Please don't let Baker Mayfield walk into Nissan Stadium and hang 45. Please don't let Lamar Jackson just run up the middle for a touchdown on the ball. Please, please, please. And the good Lord, through 3 games, has responded. The Titans.
Thank you to the good Lord.
Against Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, and Carson Wentz, 3 legitimate starting quarterbacks in the NFL. 15th in total defense, which is legitimately average, which is all we asked out of the defense.
I mean, we said that months ago.
Just don't be a horrible. Like we were, and again, it's early.
Top 15 is good.
We were hoping 21st. Like we weren't thinking 15. If they finish at 15, amen, hallelujah. Special teams. And the special teams has been bad, and they have needed to fire that coordinator, Ackerman, for forever. And I don't know how many kickoffs that they return to the 13-yard line that it's going to take before Vrabel finally makes the move and fires them. But the special teams is pretty bad. But even kicker. Bagley missed his kicks in the Cardinals game, but you were never going to win that game anyways. Randy Bullock, knock on wood, has made his kicks. Now, every time he goes up to kick, we still put our hands together. Lord, please get that football through the uprights. Please be with Randy Bullock. But this Titans offense, we were told, oh, man, Henry and Tannehill and AJ and Julio and Ferkser and Reynolds and Taylor Lewan returns and that offensive line, and they, too, rank 15th in total yards. So the Titans offense ranks 15th. Mm-hmm. The Titans defense ranks 15th. Which, in theory, would make you, I don't know what, the 15th best team in the NFL. Except this, and this is an interesting stat, to go back to what the Titans offense is. In total points scored, the Titans are 15th. So they're 15th in yards, total offense, and 15th in points. They're 15th in total defense, and they're 25th in points allowed. Do you know why there's a discrepancy on defensive points allowed when the offense lines up with yards and points?
Why?
because they've been turning the football over and they've been giving other teams short fields. So when Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson and Carson Wentz get short fields and put the ball in the end zone because Tannehill fumbled the ball on a Chandler Jones sack, fumbled the ball against the Seahawks inside the 15, 10-yard line, and then threw the interception last week, they're going out and scoring points that you are giving the other team. The Titans' defense last year, which was horrid, did do one thing well. They turned the football over. Outside of Kevin Byard's interception in week 1, the Titans have not done that, which is a different story for a different day. But it clearly is bothering Mike Vrabel that they're not turning the football over. But I go back to the bigger discussion. Through 3 games last year, I knew the Titans' defense was abysmal. I knew when they played Drew Lock and couldn't stop him, and when they played Gardner Minshew and couldn't stop him, and the Jaguars running back, an undrafted rookie named James Robinson, ran for over 100 yards, and then Kirk Cousins and Dalvin Cook lit up the Titans the next week, I knew something was bad. Now, it really metastasized as far as us knowing that this defense was when Joe Burrow and the Bengals just lit them up. Then we knew, okay, this defense is just so bad, there's no way that they're getting out of this. And that was Halloween. But I knew through 3 games defense was a problem. I think defense is okay right now. I talked about at the start of the show. I think Christian Fulton's a bad boy. I think Ola Adeni has been a huge shot in the arm. I think Danico Autry has solidified that line that they have. I mean, I think David Long Jr. has played well. I think Dan Cruikshank has played well. I think the secondary looks good. I think the defense, much better. But what about this offense? What about this efficient offense that we were told was going to be unbelievable? The one thing everybody was worried about was Todd Downing, the offensive coordinator. You know, they got A.J., Julio, Ferkser, Reynolds, Tannehill, Henry. I'm only worried about Todd Downing. And I think for the most part, Downing's done a pretty good job. There aren't a bunch of calls that I've been like, what? Though there have been some. But they have been careless with the football. Tannehill has 5 turnovers through 3 games. They've got injuries. A.J. Brown's hurt now. Ferkser's got a knee injury. If it's not for Derrick Henry, this offense is a complete and total mess. They fumbled the football last week. Chester Rogers has a ball hit him and it pops in the air. It's intercepted. There has not been much explosion as far as the Titans offense is concerned outside of the second half Derrick Henry had against the Seahawks. So is this offense going to be mired in a slump of injuries and sloppiness throughout the course of the year? Or is the Titans offense eventually going to hit their stride and take off? And all of a sudden, everything that we said about, hey, if this team last year that had the 4th-ranked offense or whatever it was, if this team last year that had the 4th-ranked offense just has an average defense, like, say, 15th, that they could legitimately be a Super Bowl contender. Last year, they were 2nd in total offense, 4th in points. If they had last year's offense and this year's defense, you're talking 4th in points, 2nd in yards, 15th in total defense. That team could have won the Super Bowl. But is the offense going to catch up? As we were promised they would, is it going to happen this year? Do you have faith that they're going to turn it around? And I'll go first in this. Not if they don't cut the dumb stuff out. I think I have been very encouraged by David Quessenberry at right tackle in the last 2 games. I was worried about him the first week. But if they keep doing the dumb stuff like playing Jeff Swaim as your starting tight end, your offense is never going to take off. The injuries have been a concern, sure, but everybody gets hurt. Everybody in the NFL has injuries. People would say, well, you know, against the Colts, they had Chester Rogers and Nick Westbrook-Akina out there. And the Indianapolis Colts quarterback couldn't move. They didn't have a right tackle, and they lost their star offensive guard. T.Y. Hilton, who might go to the Hall of Fame, out too. It was different for Indianapolis. Let's not kid ourselves. So I keep looking, and I keep thinking, and I keep wondering, is the offense going to gel and be the elite, high-powered offense that we were sold? Is the sloppiness going to clean itself up? More practice time? More game reps? If anything, these Jets and Jags games, if the Titans don't poop their pants, these games should be helpful that they'll get more reps together. Or was this a product of Arthur Smith's great coaching that is no longer there? And that the great decision-making that we love from Tannehill, that he has not demonstrated at times throughout these first 3 games, specifically the first and the third game, that maybe Arthur had a lot to do with that? And I don't know the answer. I do not know. But I know this. If the offense gets cooking and Christian Fulton is as bad of a boy as he looks at that corner position, and David Long Jr. plays better than Rashawn Evans, and they can kind of, move Rashawn Evans out a little bit, put David Long in there, and put Jayon Brown back, and Bud Dupree's healthy with the mix of Ola Adeni, and the way Landry's been, and the defense, you got yourself a squad. But I don't know. I don't know, and I'm a little worried. Not totally worried, but I'm a little worried. Do you believe in the Titans offense still?
Yes, because it's week 3. And I said going into this season, and I will say it again, I give this Titans team 4 weeks to settle in and knock off any of the problems that may have been created going into this season by not practicing. By 4 weeks, like you said, you have enough game reps under your belt. You've been in practice. You've made mistakes. You've been able to fix them. You've done good things. You've been able to capitalize off of them. 4 weeks, I think, is the perfect landmark to be able to say, okay, now our expectations that we had coming into the season need to start being met. And I think we've seen glimpses of what this Titans offense, what we thought it could be coming into the season. We've seen glimpses of it so far this season, but it hasn't all been put together.
Have we?
Derrick Henry?
Well, but Derrick Henry.
Julio Jones having big catches, setting up 2 touchdowns in Indianapolis.
Okay, Julio I can kind of get there with. I mean, Julio's made...
And AJ had a fine game week 1. It wasn't great. It wasn't outstanding. It was fine. He was the best receiver on the field that day.
Julio's been, Julio to this point has been, I'm not going to say he's been as advertised, because the way that it was the way the fans got behind the trade for Julio, you thought that they were getting Jerry Rice in his prime. And that's just not. But Julio's been good. You're getting nothing out of the tight end position, nothing tangible. You can get a nice throw to Pruitt here, nice throw to Swaim there, but you're not getting consistent looks at the tight end position.
But did we expect that at the tight end position?
I think they did.
Really?
I think people thought Anthony Ferkser was going to be that guy at tight end.
See, I never really had high expectations for the tight end position, so I don't think that I have a fair assessment of it.
I don't think if you had high hopes at the passing spot of the tight end position that there was any need for Ferkser to be on the team. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of people, because he can't block, and there were a lot of people that thought that Ferkser was going to have this breakout year because, hey, he's the guy. I mean, I've always thought Ferkser was a little overrated. He dropped the football more than I cared for him to drop it, and he dropped it at times where you shouldn't drop it. But, I think everybody looked at Ferkser, like what Chester Rogers is now. Tannehill's safe guy, third down, throw it to him. I think that's what they expected Ferkser to be times 2. And he hasn't been that. Josh Reynolds can't get off the mat. A.J. Brown has not been healthy for multiple days the entire year. Going back to training camp, it was like A.J. had off-season surgery. A.J.'s hurt at practice. A.J.'s not practicing. A.J.'s practicing. A.J.'s not practicing. A.J.'s not practicing. A.J.'s going to play. A.J.'s hurt. A.J. drops. A.J.'s out. Okay. And it's like, we even talked about A.J. Brown's durability and wondering, okay, can you give this guy the big contract? Can you pony up the money for A.J. Brown? I don't know. We'll see how this year goes, and he's already hurt. And so I look at the offense, and I'm like, right now, to me, this offense is Derrick Henry. It's Derrick Henry. And Julio Jones has been good, but it's
Julio has
Derrick
contributed.
Henry. And we don't know what Julio's situation is. But there's one thing we've talked so long about reliability. And right now, this offense, I don't think you can rely on Chester Rogers. If you're trying to have a, top 10 offense in the NFL, which, again, is what we were sold on, I don't think you can rely on Chester Rogers to be a major part of that. But they are relying on that. I don't think you can rely on Nick Westbrook-Akina. Joe Rexrode almost got, shipped out of town for writing that a Titan source told them they didn't feel like they needed to go sign a big or trade for a big splashy free agent wide receiver because they felt good about Nick Westbrook-Akina, and everybody went nuts at Joe as if he wasn't just parroting what somebody had told him. And so, I mean, I would say 3 games. I don't know how many games you get until it's like, this isn't the dangerous offense that we were told it was going to be. Now, again, Derrick Henry's a bad boy. And everybody's going to try to take Derrick Henry out of it. Derrick Henry leads the team in catches. Derrick Henry and Julio Jones both have 12 catches. That's not what we thought this offense was going to be. And so I do wonder. I think it's a fair question to ask, and we'll get your reaction. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Do you buy that this Titans offense is going to be what they were hyped up to be? Because the defense has done their job. They've done their part. 615-737-1025, Stillman and Company. Plus, I do want to get to, coming up, the one guy who seems to understand will say the truth about the Colts, and nobody else will. Like, nobody else will. And it just drives me insane. We'll get to that coming up. Are you struggling to find and retain good employees? We can help. Cromwell Media invites you to attend one of 2 free recruitment and retention seminars hosted by Chris Stonick on October 5th or 6th. For the past 33 years, Chris Stonick has helped hundreds of companies find newer, more cost-efficient ways to recruit qualified employees, learn new recruitment strategies, enjoy a continental breakfast, and be eligible to win door prizes. Go to thegamenashville.com/register for more info to sign up.
Hang out with us every weekday starting at 6 a.m. with Robbie and Rexroad.
Limping off the field. I can confirm he was limping off the field.
Darren, Donick, and Chase from 10 to 2.
Wouldn't say it deserves a gold star. We want people to play along. This is what's crazy.
And Stillman and Company from 2 to 6.
I want to go last. Can I go last? Sure.
Watch live on Periscope, Twitch, and YouTube. Tune in anytime on the Game Nashville app or your home speaker. This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game.
Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day 100% satisfaction guarantee, serving golfers since 1968.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe of Darren, Donick, and Chase. This Saturday's featured SEC college football game at 2:30 is Alabama taking on Ole Miss. Come out and watch the action with me at Brewhouse West on Charlotte Pike. We'll have great prizes and even more fun.
Paul Feinbaum here for the Southeast leader for cranes and equipment rental, Craneworks. The Craneworks team in Nashville, Birmingham, and Mobile is ready to make your next construction or maintenance project a big success. Give Craneworks a call for your next lift, machinery moving, or rigging project. And don't forget, RentalWorks has a full line of rental equipment for jobs both big and small, and now offering qualified operators for all equipment, including aerial and earth-moving equipment. Call Craneworks at 877-282-LIFT or visit them on the web at craneworks.com.
Hey, mortgage rates have taken a nosedive, back to the lowest in history. Don't miss your chance to lock in a lower house payment with Loan Pronto now. Hey, it's Willie Donick. Call Loan Pronto today and take advantage of their super popular zero-cost refi program. You can get a rate with an APR in the low 2s with no junk fees and no closing costs. Yes, they pay your closing costs. Who else does this? Loan Pronto's all-digital process is fast and easy. Virtually no paperwork required, and most loans get closed in 14 days. And if you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Think about that little bonus. Call Loan Pronto now and start the process before rates spike again. Get your forever loan today. 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. If your current mortgage rate starts with a 3, you need to act now. 615-499-5780, loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. Not all loans eligible for zero-cost option.
Bob's Steak and Chop House is a renowned award-winning steakhouse in major cities across the U.S. Nashville is lucky to have a location here in downtown at the Omni Nashville Hotel. Fine dining is brought to a new level at Bob's with awards like the Wine Spectator Award 4 years in a row, TripAdvisor Certificate of Excellence 5 years in a row, and Open Tables Diner's Choice Award 6 years in a row. Fine dining at its best. Bob's Steak and Chop House, open Wednesday through Saturday, 5 to 10 p.m. in the Omni Nashville Hotel. Complimentary valet parking is always available.
When you purchase a certified pre-owned vehicle from Mercedes-Benz of Music City, you have the power of the star backing your car to meet certification standards. A car has to be less than 6 years old with less than 75,000 miles. All certified vehicles come with 24/7 personal assistance and an extra 12-month unlimited mileage warranty. Right now, you can get 1.99% financing for 36 months on select 2017 to 2019 certified models at Mercedes-Benz of Music City. See more at mbofmc.com.
If you've missed any of today's show, just search Stillman and Company on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
About the offense in general, and maybe Ryan specifically, that you were still able to get the job done given the injuries, some of the personnel that was in and out.
Well, I think it's just a great reminder for everybody that's going to practice throughout the week that if they know what to do and they're willing to go play fast and aggressive, they have an opportunity to affect the game, hopefully positively, and get some opportunities to do whatever, whether that's at the offensive line level, whether that's Ola at the outside linebacker level, the receivers that went in there, Torrey Carter, who was playing special teams, playing his first game, whoever that may be. Just being ready for your opportunity and making sure that you take advantage of it. And some of those guys will earn more opportunities.
There you go. That was Vrabel. Do you have a thought, Caroline, or do you want to go to the phone?
Let's go to the phone.
Hey, tomorrow it's your chance to participate in the Nashville SC Pick to Click, brought to you by Camarena Tequila. If you guess correctly which player scores a goal in the game tomorrow, you win a 4-pack of tickets to an upcoming Nashville SC home game. Participate tomorrow morning, 9:45 a.m. Brad is going to start us off. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Go ahead, Brad.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to say I think you're more enamored with Downing as the offensive coordinator than I am. I think he's totally predictable and non-creative. If I can call the plays from my sofa, I'm pretty sure the defensive coordinator can do it after watching film and scheming. I mean, it's just the same plays over and over again. If we happen to get a long first down, the very next play, 99.9% of the time, is Derrick Henry running up the middle, which obviously they're waiting for no gain. So I've just been disappointed in terms of his output and his creativity so far this year. So
thank you for the call.
That's all.
Yep. Do you have a problem with Downing?
I said that same thing after week 1. I said it's just predictable, it's not creative, and there's only a certain amount of creative plays that you can whip out week 1. But I do think that there is some truth to Todd Downing's play calling being a bit predictable.
Is it?
I mean, a lot of times you can look at the personnel on the field and I know exactly what they're doing.
But that's almost because they don't have any other personnel.
And that's also true that you also have to give Todd Downing credit for is, okay,
like what
A.J. Brown's on the side.
Like, what personnel goes in the game that you're like, okay, this is definitely a run with Derrick Henry?
Derrick Henry, first and foremost. And if there are no solid receivers on the field, I know that they're going to run it up the middle with Derrick Henry.
But they had no solid receivers at the end of the game.
And that's another thing is, okay, A.J.'s hurt. Julio got pulled. So, of course, Derrick Henry's going to run it up the middle every single time. But at this point, Julio was still in the game, and Julio was on the sideline.
See, I mean,
the time that I'm thinking of in my head.
Downing, you go back to the Westbrook-Akina touchdown. I mean, he was wide open. Anybody could hit that throw. That, to me, that was schemed open. Nobody was expecting Westbrook-Akina. The big play that led, I believe, to the Jeremy McNichols touchdown was a pass interference call where they took a shot down the field with Westbrook-Akina, which I don't love because I'm not a huge Westbrook-Akina guy. But they took a shot down the field. Right, but what I'm saying is how can you say that's predictable?
I'm not saying that every single play is predictable. I'm saying that there have been times where I've said, okay, I know exactly what they're going to do.
See, I think that that's like this fallacy. You know how like these palm readers work? Is they say something like, say a palm reader were to take my palm and say, you've lost somebody close to you recently, you know? And it's like, and you're sitting here with this palm reader, you're like, oh my God, I have. You know, my partner just passed away. I mean, yes. I think it's like you're sitting there saying, I think they're going to run it on this play, and then they run it on that play. You got a 50% chance of being right.
Yeah.
I thought they were a lot more predictable with Arthur Smith when, to your point about the personnel groupings, when Ferkser and Dion Lewis run on, and Derrick Henry and, Kerry Blasingame run off, I'm like, they're going to throw.
Yeah.
Like that I thought was pretty predictable. I don't get what the beef with Downing is. I mean, how many points should they have scored on Sunday? Even without A.J. Brown. Nick Westbrook-Akina fumbles at the 6. Tannehill throws 2 terrible passes, one of which got picked. The Chester Rogers pass he doesn't catch, ball pops in the air, gets intercepted. Those are all points off the board or points given to Indianapolis. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I think Downing's doing, the more I think Downing's doing a great job. I think he's doing an okay job. Now, like the first play of the game, they didn't get any yards. The second down was a run right up the middle with Derrick Henry. Like that was obvious they were going to do that. The other thing, though, about running Derrick Henry, and they did this to the Patriots in the playoffs, and they did this to the Ravens in the playoffs, when he gets going, you want them to know he's getting the ball. And when they can't do anything about it, that's when you've broken somebody's will. So Ian, do you have a problem with Todd Downing? I guess I'm the only person here who doesn't have a problem with Todd Downing.
Well, he isn't. The Titans' offensive coordinator in general is in a difficult situation when it comes to Derrick Henry back there and how, predictable they are. They're a running team. Yeah. They use Henry like that as their running back. And there's just going to be times where they know you're going to run it. But with the Titans and with Henry back there, you just have to run it anyways. So I think he's getting a little bit better. They tried to get A.J. Brown involved early because he had a bad game. First play of the game, screen pass. It wasn't executed very well. And then the first play of the second drive after going 3 and out was that jet sweep to A.J. Brown. So they were trying to get the ball in his hands, which I'll give him credit for that. He seems to be doing okay picking and choosing on when to call screens. He's seemed to be doing okay on that. Putting Henry out as more of a receiver seems to be doing okay on that. So
I love the one play call. I can't remember when it was. I want to say it was like a 3rd down and 4 where they moved Henry out wide. They motioned him out of the backfield. And Tannehill just turned and threw it to Derrick. And Derrick, it was one-on-one with some guy, and Derrick just gets around and picks up the first down. This is a great play call. You're just getting the ball to Derrick Henry in space. But I don't have any problem with Downing. No problem. I'm not saying he's doing a great job, but I have no problem with Todd Downing right now. Zero problem with Todd Downing. What's the text line say?
One texter texts in and says the only thing you need to look at is Derrick Henry's receptions, and that should tell you that they are not predictable. There is a lot of truth to that because that's something that in the past Derrick Henry has not been able to do is catch the ball. So I do think that incorporating Derrick Henry in the passing game has worked in the Titans' favor very much so far this season.
I think it was one thing that they were nervous to try.
Yes.
I think they lucked into it. And, Arthur Derrick's hit a couple of home runs catching the football. I think the better Derrick gets at it, the more they're going to do it. Mm-hmm. And it's just like Derrick running the ball.
And the scarier it gets.
The more Derrick ran the ball. Matt LaFleur never wanted to give Derrick the ball. He had like 5 or 6 yards of carry against the Dallas Cowboys. He got 5 carries. He's not going to give him the ball. And Matt LaFleur was never going to give, no matter what Joe Rexroth tells you, Matt LaFleur was never going to give Derrick Henry the ball until they gave him the ball at the 1-yard line against Jacksonville, and he ran it 99 yards. And at that point, they couldn't not give him the ball anymore because he went for 231 game, and he went for 170 the next game, and then anybody with a brain would have to give him the football after that. And I'm convinced of it. You will never convince me that Matt LaFleur did not ruin an entire season of all of our lives by not giving Derrick Henry the ball. And I know that because I was the one banging the table. I saw someone text in the text line earlier today said, you were so wrong about Derrick Henry. I was the one person for years saying, give him the ball. Give him the ball. Let the big dog eat. Let the big dog eat. And finally they did. And thank goodness they did. I have no beef with Downing. I don't know where this beef comes from. I want to get to this. The Indianapolis stuff. Because after today, I'm done with Indianapolis. I want to get to this. Everybody thinks Indy stinks now. Like the national media, they're 0-3, and yet nobody will tell the truth about the Colts. We'll do that coming up next here on Stillman and Company. TriStar Moving, they are my official movers. And I'm sure you've heard me talk about TriStar because I've been doing it for almost a year now. And every time you think about it, you're like, okay, fine, whatever. I don't like moving. I don't do this. I don't whatever. But the moment when you have to move? when you don't have a choice and you know you're going to have to move and you know you're going to have to call movers. That's why I'm telling you about TriStar Moving. Do not have the miserable experience that is associated with moving that we all know too well. And if you call my friends at TriStar Moving, you will not have that issue. There is a reason why their motto is TriStar Movers with 5-star service. They take care of everything for you, and they are always upping the game when it comes to mover training. I absolutely loved my move with TriStar Moving that I'm still telling you about it a year later. I freaking love them. They are fantastic. They do it all and have a brand new state-of-the-art storage facility in Mount Juliet. Their owners, Garrett and Robert, true Nashvillians, and they want to help their hometown and take care of the people that they know that they care about. This company is on the real deal, and they're on the rise quickly. Give them a call, 615-640-1219. Visit their website, nashvillemoving.org/radio, where they'll give you 5% off your entire move. That's TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, nashvillemoving.org/radio. Tell them Jared Stillman sent you for TriStar Moving.
Titans, Jets. It's time to take care of business in the Big Apple. Tune in Sunday at 9:30 for NFL pregame with Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard. Live from Corner Pub in Brentwood. We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Golfers, it's time to tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the Callaway Apex Trade-In event running now through October 31st. Bring in any of your old clubs and receive a 50% trade-in bonus towards new Apex 21 irons. The Apex, Apex Pro, and Apex DCB are designed with artificial intelligence for faster ball speeds. Swing by and get custom fit today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee.
Football is back, and Electronic Express has what you need to make the game bigger than ever. Bring the stadium to you with the best in-home entertainment from Samsung, LG, Sony, Hisense, TCL, and more. Watching the game on the go? Save big on laptops, tablets, and headphones. Plus, we have all your appliance needs up to 50% off, and get up to 36 months free financing. We've got you covered this football season at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Get the ultimate mouth guard with affordable coverage from Delta Dental of Tennessee. Offering a large network of dentists and a variety of plans, you'll get better coverage than a defensive secondary. Learn more at deltadentaltn.com.
We can see your smile, and we think you should be able to see it too. With Delta Dental of Tennessee and Delta Vision, we can improve your overall well-being by keeping your teeth and eyes healthy. Visit deltadentaltn.com to find an affordable plan.
Darren McFarland.
A lot of dots to connect there, a lot of storylines.
Willie Donick.
Be careful what you wish for.
And Chase McCabe.
Yes, because it's my favorite.
Get through your workday with Darren, Donick, and Chase. Weekdays 10 to 2.
Great three-man band live. Fired up. Let's go.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I think they would love to see that.
Watch live on YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope.
When you see that, click on it.
ESPN's Turon Davenport breaks down the Titans like no other.
On the field chemistry, I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's just going to be a process.
Catch TD Mondays at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Fridays at 8. Plus, the Talking with TD podcast drops every Wednesday.
When you draft players, it's not just for one season, it's for a career.
Presented by FreedomTireGuys.com, Nashville's premier mobile tire company, and Craneworks and Rental Works, your source for crane and equipment rental. Visit Craneworks.com. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is David Poyle. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 1025 The Game.
Visit theGameNashville.com/deals to check out Nashville's best deals. Current deals include half off gone gift cards for Retro Snow, Fat Cat Slims, Central Barbecue, Joyland in East Nashville, and Bad Axe Throwing in Nashville. Get your deals now while they last at theGameNashville.com/deals. So it was something that drives me bananas. Now, I know the Colts were injured on Sunday, but a lot of people get injured. I mean, that is the NFL. Mm-hmm. But the Colts were really injured Sunday, and I understand that. But do you think the Colts are a good team? Like, even if all those guys are healthy?
I don't think they're a bad team, but I don't think they're a good team. Like, I think they are an average to below average team.
Ian, do you think the Colts are all that good if T.Y. Hilton is healthy and Quentin Nelson is healthy and Carson Wentz is healthy?
I'd say they're a solid team.
I think they're fine.
Yeah, they're solid. They're not. I wouldn't go bad, but
I mean, they won't lose to Jacksonville or Houston, but they're not.
But I don't think they would win the
Buffalo, Baltimore, Cleveland. They're not those guys. Kansas City, they're not there. And yet nobody will tell the truth about the Colts. It's all like, I listened to Charles Robinson this morning. Robbie Stanley asked him, what do you make of Frank Reich now with all this? Well, Carson Wentz is reverted to some of his bad habits, and they need him to be such and such. And I'm like, no, you should blame those guys. So Dan Dockich, longtime ESPN basketball commentator who hosts a show in Indianapolis, and I believe is signed with Outkick. Dan Dockich was on his show on 107.5 in Indianapolis yesterday, and I was listening to it saying thank you because he's the only guy who will criticize the coach or the general manager in Indianapolis. Here's what he said.
Irsay, he got so much public approval for Chuck Strong that he kept Chuck Strong. You want to know why Grigson? Grigson. Well, you want to know why Grigson was fired? Because he didn't get public approval. We got wins, but he gets public approval for Ballard and Wright. It's popularity, and I'm telling you, and every single guy that's coached, I met a great superintendent of Newton County Schools yesterday at the game. He will nod his head on this. When you mess with winning, and you put other things ahead of success, the gods get you. The football gods creep in there, and they get you.
And he spent about 20 minutes ranting about that yesterday, about Reich and about Ballard. And I feel like I'm beating a dead horse because I've been up here saying every time I turn on TV, it's Indianapolis is the best run organization in the NFL. Indianapolis has one of the best rosters in the NFL. Remember when Fitz came on and I asked him, other than DeForest Buckner and Darius Leonard, to name me a player on the defense, and he said Justin Houston.
And he had just gone to the Chiefs.
And he had just signed with somebody else. And it was like everybody on ESPN gets up there and says, Indianapolis best roster. Or it was all glass half full. If Carson Wentz reverts to 2017, then... And now what they're going to do is they're going to blame the injuries. They're 0-3. We knew when we looked at their schedule that 0-3 was a legitimate possibility. We knew when they traded for Carson Wentz that Carson Wentz getting hurt was a legitimate possibility. It happened, and now when Indy's not good this year, and I think that the injury bug, once it bites you like that, it's hard to shake those kind of things. That's why it's good for A.J. Brown to take a couple of weeks off. But if Indianapolis finishes this year at 5-12, or something ridiculous like that, people are going to say, well, you can't blame Reich and Ballard because those guys, the injury bug bit them. And what were they supposed to do? And I've never seen anything like it, where a small market team gets such a pass. I've seen small market teams get ignored, but I have never seen a small market team get a pass like the Indianapolis Colts do. Like, everybody just made this up in their head that, oh, yeah, no, it's not Reich's fault. It's Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers was no good. Phillip Rivers, we watched Phillip Rivers come in here and tear up the Titans last year. A lot better than what we saw Sunday. I mean, nobody tells the truth. I thought that the best line Dockich had when I listened to him yesterday, the best line he had was, just because you like the general manager does not make you a good draft pick because you were drafted by that general manager. He's like, every time the Colts make a pick, everyone's great pick. And it's like, not every pick you make is going to be a good pick. John Robinson hit it out of the park in 2009. His 2020's been terrible. But you know what? People don't. John Robinson, if you were to compare side by side, has had a much better tenure as a general manager than Chris Ballard. But nobody will ever say that. And I just don't get it. It's never Reich's fault. It's never Ballard's fault. And to Dan Dockich's point, if Jim Irsay wants to keep putting popularity and what public approval is going to say over actually winning, then they're going to keep trading for the Carson Wentzes because TV likes it. And so they'll trade for them. And I'm just so thankful somebody said, that Colt team sucked on Sunday. And all these great defensive players, Bobby Okereke and Darius Leonard and Kenny Moore and Xavier Rhodes and all these guys that they've been pumping up for Indianapolis, they didn't show me anything special on Sunday.
Why do you think that John Robinson has had a better tenure than Chris Ballard?
John Robinson has won a playoff game.
Okay.
has won multiple playoff games, has been to the AFC Championship, has had 5 winning seasons in 5 years, has found a franchise quarterback, drafted maybe the best player in the NFL, had 3 All-Pros in 1 draft, and has done it longer.
Okay, I'm just asking why you think that.
I mean, I don't know how you can argue. Ballard's had 4 cracks at quarterback. I mean, Andrew Luck, he didn't draft, but he had Andrew Luck. He had Jacoby Brissett. He had Phillip Rivers, and now he's got Carson Wentz. He's had 4 cracks at quarterback.
But we knew Phillip Rivers wasn't going to be a franchise quarterback in
They
Indianapolis.
chose him over Tom Brady.
I have to think there are more factors than just let's pick one.
And do you know what they said about Phillip Rivers when he signed?
What?
Well, he had Frank Reich in San Diego when he was lighting it up, so he's going to be reunited with Frank Reich. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
I mean, come on now. Like, it's even the kicker. We get texts and calls, and all the time people are saying, well, the kicker. What about the kicker? The kicker, why the Titans didn't draft the kicker? Why didn't he? Missed a kick that would have tied the playoff game, missed a kick the other day. And again, it was a long kick they were asking.
Yeah.
But it's not like this guy is the dude from the Ravens, Justin Tucker. He's an okay average NFL kicker. Not something you need to cry about. Time now for Carolines. Which I know I just...
Get in on the action. Put the money on the mahogany. What's on tap on the sports books? It's time to break it all down with Carolines. Here on Stillman and Company.
On ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Carolines is brought to you by BetUS. It's America's favorite sports book, and it has been for over 25 years. You can sign up at BetUS.com, mention game, and get a sign-up bonus on your first deposit. You've got Diamondbacks and Giants tonight. Give me the Giants -1.5. That's -125. Moneyline isn't really worth your value there. It's at -280. Logan Webb out on the mound for San Francisco. He is 10-3 with a 3.04 ERA and 24 starts. So the Giants lost his last start, but before that, they won 8 straight games of his. They're 19-5 when he starts, other than Arizona, who's putting Luke Weaver out on the mound, who's 3-6 with a 4.38 ERA and 12 starts. He lost his last 3 starts. He allowed 3 or more earned runs in each. The Giants are 14-2 against the Diamondbacks this season. They've won 16 of their last 20 games. Meanwhile, the Diamondbacks have not won a road game of his since they beat the Rockies 10-8 in Colorado on April 6th. So give me the Giants.
I think the Giants, Diamondbacks are ready to go home. What's next?
Padres, Dodgers. Give me the Dodgers on the money line. They're throwing out Walker Buehler. He's 14-4 with a 2.58 ERA, but in his 4 starts against San Diego, he has a 2.03 ERA, so he likes pitching against the Padres. Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres. He's got a 4.21 ERA and 29 starts. He is 2-2 with a 2.42 ERA against LA this season, but he's been bad as of late since the substance ban, so give me the Dodgers.
I'll take the Dodgers. I watched the Padres play this weekend against the Braves. They're terrible.
Red Sox, Orioles, give me the Red Sox, -1.5, -160. Chris Sale on the mound for Boston. He is a 2.57 ERA and 7 starts. Bruce Zimmerman for Baltimore, who has a 5.13 ERA. Boston sitting 1 game ahead of Toronto for the second wild card spot in the American League. So give me Boston. I know they have something to play for tonight. And the Orioles kind of suck.
Yeah, and the Red Sox had a rough weekend against the Yankees. Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
So this is like that body cleanse. You get the Orioles. So I'll take the Red Sox here as well. Tell us about BetUS.
Carolines is brought to you by BetUS, America's favorite sports book for over 25 years. You can sign up at BetUS.com, mention game, and get a sign-up bonus on your first deposit.
There you go, Carolines. Coming up next, usually we do that at the end of the show, but we got big news. Our friends at Belmont are joining the Missouri Valley Conference. So goodbye to the OVC. Hello to the Missouri Valley. And Scott Corley, the athletic director of Belmont, will join us next. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Another warm afternoon turning into a comfortable night as temperatures drop back into the low 60s with partly cloudy skies. Can't rule out a bit of patchy fog once again for early Wednesday morning. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day, 100% satisfaction guarantee, serving golfers since 1968.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of pills?
Well, I have breaking news. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most proven form of wave technology available, clinically shown by Cambridge to open up and regrow blood vessels. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED by treating the root cause, call us now, and not only will the assessment and blood flow ultrasound be free, we'll also include something unique that produces powerful results in the bedroom. You're going to love that. And to those that call in the next 2 minutes, you'll qualify for an extra treatment free. This is an unheard of value worth hundreds of dollars. Call 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your love life back. Call Hillside Medical Clinic in the next 2 minutes to qualify for this unprecedented offer. 615-576-5000.
Listen up, sports bettors. This is Hall of Famer Warren Sapp here to tell you about my favorite sports book, BetUS.com. I only endorse one sports book, and that's BetUS.com. Just like me, BetUS is the Hall of Famer of online betting with more than 25 years in the biz. Call today, and they will get you set up faster than I can run the 40. I play at BetUS, and so should you. BetUS.com.
Use code GAME for a sign-up bonus.
Tell them Sapp sent you.
You're listening to Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
Big news on Belmont Boulevard. And since I live in that area, it's part of my home too.
Oh, that's sweet.
Part of my home. Big news. First off, Casey Alexander finally paid me the $80 that he's owed me for over a decade. Almost 15 years now. That happened a couple of months ago. But now, big news today, Belmont has accepted an invitation to join the Missouri Valley Conference. They'll be the 11th member, and they will be competing next fall. So, goodbye OVC, hello Missouri Valley, and the basketball in the Valley is some pretty high-level stuff for mid-major. Scott Corley, the athletic director at Belmont, joins us now on the program. Scott, congratulations, first of all, on the move to the Missouri Valley. I know that this was years and years and years in the making, but take us through this process and why the Missouri Valley is such a good fit for Belmont and why Belmont is such a good fit for it, even though I heard all last week that Casey Alexander's got maybe a top 5, top 10 team at the end of this year. I'm not setting expectations, but in all seriousness, take us kind of through this process and how you guys ended up in the Missouri Valley.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, Jared. You know, as you kind of look at the landscape, and obviously there's a lot of conference affiliation, you know, rumors and stuff out there. You know, what kind of resonated with us at Belmont in the Missouri Valley is certainly the quality of the league, the fact that it's basketball-centric. You got 5 public schools, 5 private schools. We're certainly attracted to the Chicago market where Loyola is and what they've been able to accomplish. You got St. Louis, where the men's basketball tournament has been for the last 32 years. That's an attractive market. And as Belmont continues to grow, and we have so much wonderful momentum at Belmont right now, not only at the university level, but within athletics. We've got a new president who is really challenging us to aspire to be, you know, bigger and better at everything we do. We've got the new practice facility, Jared, as you know, the Crockett Center. And those things, I think, allowed us to really take a look and think, you know, where is the next logical move for Belmont athletics? And what we liked about the Valley, again, is just, you know, there's decent geographic fit, but it's a higher quality competition, and I think that's going to make us better. You know, iron sharpens iron, and we think we can bring a lot to the conference. They were clearly attracted to the Nashville marketplace, to what we've been able to do on a national level with our men's and women's basketball program. So it really was a nice fit, and I know we're excited, and they're equally excited.
What do you make of the fact that you can get to the Final Four in basketball out of the Missouri Valley? You brought up Loyola Chicago, but, I mean, Butler, when Brad Stevens was there, you know, I mean, they well, I mean, not from the Missouri Valley, but Butler at one point was in the Missouri Valley. Cincinnati at one point was in the Missouri Valley. I mean, this is not a conference in which you're going to be on ESPN3 every night and the tournament's not going to get a lot of attention. This is a basketball conference through and through, Scott.
No doubt, and that's what was really attractive. I mean, and there's not a gimme on the schedule. We understand we're going to have to be really, really good to do the things we want to do. But you're right. I mean, why can't we think Final Four like Loyola? I mean, a lot has to happen. We all know that. It's sports, it's athletics, it's competition. But at the end of the day, we certainly will have a better chance to get at-large bids. Not only in basketball on the men's side, but women's basketball is really good. And a lot of the other sports are as well. So, we understand the challenge competitively, but I think we were all asking those same questions when we made the move from the Atlantic Sun to the OVC, and I think that worked out just fine. So, and again, I know from the president, from the board of trustee on down, they're committed to make sure when we make this move, our goal isn't to be, mediocre in the Missouri Valley. Our goal is to be at the top of the Missouri Valley, and I'm really confident we got the coaches and student athletes and just the culture to get that done.
Scott Corley, Belmont Athletic Director, with us. We all know how important Coach Bird was to Belmont's success and Belmont getting to the Missouri Valley Conference. Like with Coach Bird when you told him that Belmont was in a place to where you guys could make this move?
Well, he was very excited. I think he wants Belmont to continue to grow and continue to challenge ourselves. And my conversation with him, he was very positive on it. Clearly, I sat down with Bart and Casey and wanted to make sure they would be comfortable with that type of move, and they were certainly excited about it. So I think our coaches, and I know Coach Bird feels this way, that Belmont has a lot to offer. And the other thing that I really didn't talk about, I think this is going to help us in recruiting. Being at a conference like the Missouri Valley, the types of players that we've been going after to take that to the next level. Now we've got a conference that I think gives even more credibility in recruiting. So, but back to your original question, Coach Bird was very excited about it, very supportive of it. And you're right, what you said, this move wouldn't even be possible without him and all he accomplished over the years.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it was funny because I was thinking in my head, to ask the question about, how much of this was about Coach Bird, but I don't even need to ask that question. I think everybody knows, and for years and years, you guys may, at some point get to the Final Four out of the Missouri Valley. And I think still for people around here, when we think Belmont, we're going to think about Coach Bird and all of his accomplishments. At what point did Casey Alexander demand a contract extension and or raise with the news that he was playing in the Missouri Valley Conference?
Well, I'm just glad to hear he paid you his $80 back. I hope you got interest on it.
I will say. Go ahead, Scott.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that Casey is – I think Casey – at the Coaches versus Cancer event last week, there was a lot of joking about how good this Belmont team could be. The one thing I'll say about Casey is, one, I think he's dedicated to Belmont, especially seeing this through in the success in the Missouri Valley Conference. I'll also say this about Casey. I think he's a high-level basketball coach, and I think you guys knew that when you hired him. I think Lipscomb knew that when he hired him from Belmont. So I have nothing but nice things to say about Casey, and in large part because he did, to your point, pay me the $80.
I mean, Casey's been fantastic. I mean, obviously Belmont is near and dear to his heart, much like it is to mine. I know he's excited about the Missouri Valley. Obviously, we're hoping to have a great season this year. And look, we know Casey's well respected amongst all Division I, and so I'm not going to sit here and try to predict what all this means. I know Casey's a hard worker, and he'll do everything to help Belmont succeed. And I do think the Missouri Valley, he's a competitor, and I think he's excited to see what we can do against higher level competition.
Scott, appreciate it as always. Congratulations again to you and everybody else over there at Belmont, and we look forward to slamming Casey when they lose games in the Missouri Valley Conference.
I wouldn't expect anything less from you.
Appreciate you, Scott.
Thanks for the time.
You got it. Take good care of Bart, as always. We really appreciate him and all the great work that he's doing as well over there with the women's program. Scott Corley, the athletic director at Belmont. Exciting times. You were over there today.
I was. It was very exciting. It was a nice little buzz around campus. There were a bunch of students, faculty there at the announcement today. So it was very exciting. And I know that everyone there at Belmont is ready for this new challenge.
All right, let's do it. That's going to be it for us. We're out of here. We're back tomorrow at 2 o'clock. ESPN Radio. Coming up next, Stillman and Company. It's